Welcome back, everybody, to the Paladins Premier League. My name is Gormizer, and we are about to jump into what I think is going to be a very spicy set for the day. But before we crack this one completely open, let me introduce Randy. Everybody knows him. He's sitting here on the desk with me as we come through. I mean, we have the Knights, who we got to see a little bit yesterday.
Yes.
And then a brand new Virtus.Pro. For the first time ever, there's no Elven Path lingering from the old roster. It is completely refreshed.
It is a really nice look for Virtus.Pro, who have kind of put themselves in this position with Elven Path, who has a very clear personality, that was going to be the brand of the organization while they were in Paladins. And the fact that, he's gone opens up a lot of different personalities to come in and have their own impact on the game and the set. And we've got one of the most eclectic and culturally diverse teams in the entire history of Paladins now on Virtus.Pro.
And they are going up against the Knights. Again, we got to see the Knights a little bit yesterday, and even though we were looking a lot at the front line, a lot at the support, a couple of players who have made their names because, again, of how good their aim is, and one of them is Ricotta, who has been able to come through. One of the most, I want to say, impressive players. Again, a lot of these guys from a 4th, 5th place team, him being able to come in and still have this staggering performance was incredible.
He really is a great DPS player. The thing that almost just shuts me down a little bit is some of the picks like the Victors. I think he's one of the only players that I've seen right now in this high level still picking that, and I think it can work, but to me it's more of just his champion pool. Can that continue to develop? I think he's got the skill there. Do I put him on the caliber right now of the level that, Invocal's performing on, the level we've seen even Shadow perform on and Rock and Random Noob yesterday? No, but I do think he's got the potential to be there. I think he's got the aim to compete with all of them. I just think it's more of champion pool, decision making, and then as the captain of this team, can he keep everyone in line? Remember, I talked about with Nick, if you're feeling bad as the captain, you're not performing, it's hard to give everyone the right information because you're like, man, I got to handle my thing.
And it's hard to pump someone up. Like, if you're having a bad game and they're having a bad game, you can't really say, like, hey, man, you need to fix up your game. Because they're just going to be like,
well, you suck
what about
too,
you?
dude.
Yeah, like, what are you doing
What are you
here?
looking at me for?
You can see Dethroner sitting right there, kind of prepared for the game. And Dethroner is one of those players who, again, and I feel like this is just the case for the Knights. A lot of these guys, and we look at Invocal for the same reason, we're on a team that was not winning. And because of that, you get that rep of a not winning player kind of deal. But then you look a little closer at what they were able to accomplish, and you're like, you know what, this guy's really good. And that's where a lot of these players for this split were picked up by these teams. They're looking at, let's say Payan and Dethroner from SK, and they're just like, SK didn't win, but it wasn't their fault. They were doing fine. It was just the team synergy.
I think that's the biggest thing that I get from all of these types of situations is how much does synergy actually impact your performance? I mean, when you look at these things, it's kind of inquantifiable. I mean, you have aim, you have damage you're doing, you have damage shielding, all of those things you can know numbers for. But your synergy, your morale, those are stuff that you can't really decide whether that was the difference between what won you or lost, but certainly does have an impact.
And, one of the things I haven't actually gotten to mention yet, Cuss is on this team. Cuss has been someone who has been very important to the scene, just in terms of being a friendly face for everybody. And we actually have an interview with Cuss coming through as he can talk through, especially about the fact that he is about to go up against 2 of his previous teammates. So let's go ahead and hear from him.
Drama.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Down here on the floor with Cuss Cutie, the man, the myth, the legend of the Knights. After a very stellar set, I have to say, against NIP. Nobody was quite sure what to expect from you guys, but today's a little different. Today, you're going to be going up some of your former teammates in Vex and Doe. How are you feeling about this matchup?
I'm feeling really good. We haven't got to scrim them for like a month and a half or so. We've been like soft blacklisted by them. They're really preparing for us. So we don't know what to expect from them at all. I don't think they know what to expect from us. We didn't use, everything in our arsenal yesterday. This match is really, really important to me. So
I'm very excited to see it. You've played with those guys, especially Doe, forever, basically, for almost all time. Do you feel like you need to know what you're expecting from this roster? Do you feel like you have an idea playing with Doe, playing with Vex? Who's going to be kind of spearheading this team? Because there's a lot of different big names from a lot of different regions on this squad.
Yeah, who's going to be spearheading? Probably, I mean, you expect Dosups to show up every single time. I don't think Dosups has ever had a bad performance at LAN. He's always consistent. Fisheko, he tends to pop off or he tends to fizzle out, so we're hoping he fizzles out today. And Vex is consistent as well, and I think Pooley's the wild card. Is he going to play really well? Is he going to not do very well as the sub? So we don't know what to expect from this team.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, and good luck. And I cannot wait to get in this one. Let's get it back up to the desk and get ready to roll.
A few key things Cuss was mentioning, and
It's got a
I
little
feel
curl
like we,
going on there. I just had to mention it.
we have the same
A little
thoughts.
swag going on.
Vex and the rest of Virtus.Pro are kind of wild cards at this point. No one knows
Certainly.
truly what to expect. You have 5, depending on how you look at it, 6 technically great players and a good coach behind them. But is that going to be enough? Is it going to be enough to put them individually together, or is it going to be nothing?
It's like going to the far reaches of the earth to gather the best ingredients from every continent, to be able to actually have the freshest, most delicious raw ingredients. But then you give it to a chef, and you don't know the quality of the chef. Can he turn those ingredients into a meal that's actually tasty? Is he going to overcook them? Is he going to undercook them? This is what we're expecting to see. They're the chef right now. The coach is going to have an impact in that. But whether the dish will be appetizing, we don't know. The players, though, they are the best of the best that Paladins has been offering.
And one of the ones that has been a treat to watch for a little over a year now since we got to see the true debut, I want to say, on LAN is Hecate, who has been coming through. Well, Rain Day too. But you've been around a lot longer than a year. Okay, you made your debut
That's true.
a while ago.
I've been doing things for a while.
Hecate
I'm so good at Paladins.
kind of jumped into the scene in a very surprising fashion. And the thing that was, I think, unfortunate for him and, of course, everybody who he played with on Burrito was they had that phenomenal performance at HRX going up against Na'Vi.
Phenomenal.
In a position where I still say if they beat Na'Vi in that Game 7, they go and they become a world champion. But they just always had to go back and have to play in LATAM, have to play against these teams that admittedly just weren't challenging them the same way Na'Vi could, Envy could, the way that we might see the Knights be able to challenge them here.
I mean, they were disappointed. About as disappointed as I am seeing the Rain What's in chat after I said I was a really good Paladins player. What's going on, guys? I'm disappointed after that. But, they can't.
Chad doesn't even have your back.
They don't even have my back. What is this? In my own home, you're stabbing me. At the end of the day, though, obviously, I hope everyone realizes I'm being sarcastic here. I'm going to get a Reddit post saying, Randy thinks he's so good. Watch this gameplay. I'm just going to...
And you're in a dangerous
it's not
position.
About me.
You upload that to YouTube.
I do. It's
I
not
keep
about
mine
me.
Hidden.
You do. Your Inara plays, though, should be shared with the world. Hecate is so good. And you know what the cool thing about it? I mean, I don't even want to talk about that last set. I want to talk about the fact that he has so much energy. He is so excited. This is like him living his actual dream. Coming from South America to here to play in the PPL, he is so happy, and I can't wait to see what he does.
And that's something that Vex has mentioned. I'm sure that we might actually hear the same thing from the Spuds, the coach of Virtus.Pro, who we actually have standing by for an interview right now. So we're going to jump to him to get their thoughts on this next matchup.
Thank you so much. I'm down here now with Tyler, the coach for Virtus.Pro. First question, you're a new face around here. Why don't you give us a little intro, a little backstory about how you came to lead this Virtus.Pro team?
Well, I was coaching last split in PGS with Big Egos, and we qualified for LAN, and I think it kind of got a bit of attention towards me. Those guys were great, so it really helped me out just to kind of get my name out there. I've known a couple guys in there for years. Started really early in Paladins, so I mean, it just fits, so.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have you around in the scene. This is a matchup with a lot of history, especially between, obviously, Cuss Cutie, Doseup, Vex. Those guys used to play on a team together. How do you go about preparing your squad for a roster that is relatively unknown and is, in its infancy, kind of known for being very versatile or being a wild card or not exactly knowing what they're going to be bringing out?
Well, right off the bat, we knew Knights were going to be pretty good. We thought we were at least top 4. So every game against them is going to be really, really tough. Cuss, great drafter. Payne, great drafter. They all come from PPL. So really, we were just trying to do our own thing, not really try to worry about what they're doing too much and bring our kind of style into the game.
So you have one of the very few, hyper international rosters. As we put a couple guys from NA, a couple guys from LATAM, of course, Fisheko or Toxeco, as we're calling him, from EU. How has it been? Has there been any language barrier, any sort of that sort of thing inhibiting this team working and synergizing well together?
Yeah, I mean, everything that could possibly go wrong, right? Like scrims. We have 2 guys in EU, 2 guys in Latin America, right? So it's kind of hard to pull that stuff together. The language barrier's been good. Hakate's good, so that's not too bad. But overall, like, it's been kind of troubles. But now that we're here, we feel confident.
Awesome, man. Well, good luck. Congratulations on making it here in your new role coaching Virtus.Pro. We're going to get it back to the desk and get this set underway.
Was
Man's is looking fresh.
Destiny's Child in the hallway, or
Yeah, no, I don't know if you know, but
Heard a
for the
little bit of that.
halftime show that's actually coming, we actually have a surprise 3 more best of 7s. Actually, no, I think we had
that's
a very
great
excited
idea.
FDOT in the background.
That is a great idea. A halftime show at our esports
We should
events.
do it.
I mean, even at HRX. I mean, why not?
We can have Can You Feel Me performed live every day.
We can get them. We can
After
get that
every single
Epidemic
game.
Sound band. Or we
That
can
would
have
be-
the band that's playing, for all the intro music for the games.
Maybe we should just go to them. I mean, I feel like at this point, with this many cameras in the studio, they should be on camera at some point.
No, I don't think they're comfortable with that.
Oh, okay.
They
just
like
the
to play
audio.
their music off camera, and that's what they do.
I'm glad we have that.
Thanks, guys.
What I guess
Appreciate
dungeon
you.
left for them. I don't know where. I guess they're over here.
Oh, they're well taken
not
care of.
allowed to look at them.
They're
That's
looking
off
at you.
screen for me. If I look
Okay,
over there,
sorry.
it's not good for this chat's immersion. Either way, you have it coming through. I see chat spamming. Yes, they want. Can You Feel Me every single game? I'm not sure you truly want that.
Whoa,
You don't know what it's like.
Every single game?
Oh, yeah.
Now that's different. I
no,
don't need
replace
a Can
the
You Feel
map.
Me epidemic.
Replace the map intro.
No.
with Can You Feel Me?
With a live performance from the Can You Feel Me Epidemic Sound Band. That would take way too long. We'd never get out of here.
Well, back on point. There's the team. That's the
We didn't
team.
get off point.
I think this is the team I'm most excited to see. And I'm going to admit, I'm a little nervous because
Yeah?
I feel like they are the one team that, coming into this with the excitement, with the names they have,
Yeah.
if they falter, then it's an eye-opener, not only for them, but I think for everybody who is a fan of this Virtus.Pro roster or the players.
Do you think that they'll do better or worse than we've seen Kanga do? Because Kanga had relatively high expectations.
I'll say better.
I think so, too.
I think if you take these individuals, I think no team synergy between these individuals will be a still very high-level team. I think if
Yeah.
you take and add in whatever synergy they've been able to get over the past couple months, because, Vex hinted at, I said this in the interview on Esports Weekly, he hinted at this team in December that he was looking for these guys already. He's known what he's wanted. And so being able to bring in a player like this, Hakate, who can come through, a sniper true and true, I think that this is going to be an incredibly strong team. But they said the Knights, they were looking at them, and they think they have potential to be top 4, so they have to take them down.
Man, I think Virtus.Pro, the only synergy they need to worry about and trust is Hakate's crosshair over his enemy's head. That is exactly the synergy that they need, and if they get it, which I don't see why they wouldn't, they'll be doing just fine in the PPL. Splitstone Quarry, though, where do they start, Gore? I think this is an interesting map, and I can expect actually in this set we might see a lot of interesting map picks. These two teams, to say that they're going to play mind games against each other might be an understatement.
Well, this is actually where things get very interesting. Knights, we've mentioned Cuss does like to pull things that are a little bit more out of the pocket, like very, very weird scenario, niche picks.
Yes.
But I think the same thing can be said for Virtus.Pro, not only because of the, I want to say, variety of players and play styles they bring in, but because Puleule specifically was one of the players that was always helping them during their draft while they were in Latin America, that was helping them in that matchup against Na'Vi. They know how to learn. So I'm going to say even if this match goes heavily in one side or the other, expect a lot of adaptation mid-set. These teams both have those players that are capable of that, and that makes such a big difference.
I mean, I just love the fact that they're able to kind of have those pairings that I mentioned about and add a little spice in there. But the ability to have, like I said, a little bit of that NA duo in the Dosips and Vex and a little bit of that LATAM duo right now in the Puleule Akate. Just to give that confidence to the way that they're able to perform. I think it's a really good fallback to allow Fisheko to jump in there, kind of just aim, do his thing, play blasters, and feel confident that everyone else is handling their business.
And I'm really happy you bring up Fisheko because that's who I was going to ask about next. I mean, I've mentioned Hakate a lot. I just mentioned Puleule.
Look at him.
Obviously, we got to talk to Vex, and we've seen Dose-Ups for ages now. But Fisheko has been a very, very interesting performer because online, he was always really good. At LAN, it's always been very hit or miss, but Vex had said very specifically they looked at the top LAN performances, essentially. And even though the last couple of LANs weren't maybe the top of Fisheko's list, he was still performing. Do you think he's still going to be just as good?
I think he's going to be a great player. He is a great player. But, again, personality is what I think clashed in Fnatic. Fnatic had a lot of chill, focused people. Feel, Bugsy, Gera, Bittner. None of those personalities raise above a 6 on an energy scale. And I think what's important too is that they're very calm and collected. Pacheco has that laid-back nature, but he can jump to really, like they call him Toxico or whatever they were calling him. He can be a little toxic. He can be a little aggravated early. He can raise that energy, and I think that may have clashed. But I think on VP it will actually blend really nicely with Akate, and then also with Vex, who can kind of keep a level head for the team. He's much more of a leader in my opinion.
And that's what I was actually thinking when you said that. Is in some scenarios that does become maybe toxic. That energy gets channeled maybe negatively, but when you put them beside people like Puleule and Hecate right now, who are happier than ever to just be sitting here, let alone the fact that they get to play the game they love, that they're really, really good at, I think you can turn that energy into something positive for the team, and you can bring that into win after win after win. So we're definitely looking towards him. Knights have their roster locked in. Khan, Pip, Maldamba, Cassie, and Barrick. How are you feeling about this?
Too early of a Pip for, most of these drafts, but I think Knights are always trying to do something a little different, and that's, if you're Virtus.Pro, you're not surprised. You knew they were going to do something different, and that's what it was. I think it's doable with the lineup that they have. They have burst in the ruckus, mobility, and the Mom King and the Leon. I think the Inara is going to be a very strong pickup to go against either the Barrick or the Khan, but they've got to worry about these overpowers, and they have to worry about these evil mojos. I think Akate, though, on the Cassie, that's scary.
Well, Splitstone, Corey, is the map one more time. A lot of threats. Bomb King locked in at the very end for Pacheco. A lot's going to look good.
Sorry, Hecate and Leon.
Either way, you give him Cassie, you give him Leon, you give him Canessa, you give him Strix, you give him insert other hit scan champion here. He's going to look good doing it, and I'm excited to see what Virtus.Pro have to offer. We got to see the Knights yesterday, but this is going to be, I think, a lot of respect from both teams coming into this. And Splitstone Corey, looking at that, knowing that neither team has the sniper, that's going to be something that makes or breaks. I don't know what if he sneezes, if he laughs, what's going on. Bro. And there's the dab from Hecate. He's feeling it. He's dabbing on him. And he's feeling himself here for Splitstone Corey. As we get ready to go into game, we've got Dave, we've got Nick to take us through this set.
Here we are going into Splitstone Corey. Those team intro videos are
I need a stronger dab from Hecate. I need to re-record.
That was a half commit dab. I think they were egging him on.
With the wrong execution for sure.
I appreciate it, though. And Dethroner, the only one breaking character at all on the side of the Pittsburgh Knights. But this is the matchup that yesterday you were pretty excited for coming in. We had some good games earlier today, but this is the one you had your eyes on. Virtus.Pro finally getting a chance to start off their season. Looking to start it off here on Splitstone Corey.
I mean, so much history here, so much in the way of expectations. These two teams having roughly similar, I think, expectations of what they can do, what they have done in the past as well. Very, very excited to see these Latin Americans start to perform, though. Puleule and Hecate, longtime teammates, now playing over here on this very international squad with representatives from basically every single region. Early exchanges early on, and Saris is going to manage to keep that Leon alive.
Well, Pule and Hecate, 1-2 punch leads to the first blood on this map, and Virtus.Pro off to a 30% lead here on the point. They did answer back with a kill of their own on the side of Pittsburgh Knights, but a nice Inara wall keeps them from pushing in there and getting the contest, at least at the moment. Ricotta holding down this fidget spinner hallway with the Cassie. He saw some great play out of him yesterday on the Cassie as well, doing lots of damage onto this Inara. You have to be careful if you're on the side of Virtus.Pro. Some early ultimates starting to come out. That's the convergence. Pulls 2 in. Is there any follow-up damage? Actually, it's coming out. It's a reversal. Ricotta finds himself 2. And Virtus.Pro is now on the back foot. A retake comes in for the Knights. Payan looking for the kill onto Hecate, and he finds it. And the Knights retake in a big way. 57% now for him on the point.
A lot of confidence from this Pip and a nice return frag from Pacheco. That's going to help tip the scales back in Virtus.Pro's favor. King Bomb is ready to roll in as well. And there's not a ton this Dread Serpent can do to stop it. The Dread Serpent comes out. I'm not sure what it finds. Ricotta just blasts on through. I cannot believe the damage that Cassie was able to do.
Yeah, poor Pacheco falls in the middle of his ultimate. Now kills starting to come up blue across the board. It's down to Leon and Saris to try to contest here. Oh, he finds a kill on the backside onto Payan, but Ricotta cleans up Hecate. Pittsburgh Knights find themselves on the board early here, 1-0. Virtus.Pro is halfway there, firmly in control, but some good team fights, some good picks. Put Pittsburgh Knight on top here. The overpower.
Ricotta missing the easiest shots of his PPL career right now. I think you have to make it hard, and look at this, Hexafire in response. I'm not sure what's going to get. Dosup's a little frustrated maybe after that overpower, or thinking that because he didn't die, maybe he can turn this into something, and he certainly opens the door for his boys. Fisheko and Akate come through when they need it most and actually make that team fight work.
Virtus.Pro find themselves a win, and that Khan ultimate with Ricotta missing some shots reminds me when we were doing those caster games about a month ago on the Mixer stream, and I was playing Khan, and you were just screaming at me to stop moving around while I was holding people because you couldn't hit them. I was just making it way too hard for everyone.
It's a funny thing, man. It's a style choice. Makoa players, same thing. Like, when some players will talk about how they play with certain Makoa players that literally they'll hook people and just stay still the whole time.
Right.
Some people hook and flick around.
Over, right.
They try to do all different types of things. So you got to be on the same
A
page.
little special flair.
With what your tanks are going to be looking to do here. I'd be surprised if I really would be surprised if this game or this set doesn't go 6 or 7. I'm hoping for 7 here. This is going to be a really, really good one, and I love the players involved in this set. One thing I do want to talk about, though, is that this is the Knights' second set. This is VP's first rodeo here on LAN as a squad. The Knights had a day to figure it out, to VOD review, to talk about what went right, what went wrong for them. So I definitely that is something that I don't think we've touched on too heavily here, but could be a big, big favorite thing for the Knights.
Absolutely, and that's what teams talked about yesterday. They're like, we just want to get our first game in, get our feet wet, get things moving, and they all had the chance. And Virtus.Pro starting things off fresh here, but with 30 seconds left, they've done a good job here on this defense. The game has been pretty back and forth this entire time. Neither team really pulling the reins one way or the other. Hecate looking to start off this fight. Him and Fisheko adding for a couple kills. Pittsburgh Knights, health bars going low. Fisheko finds 2. Hecate pouring in a lot of damage. Pan's going to be the last one. Fisheko make it 3 to start off this defense, and that looks like it's going to wrap up side number 1. Virtus.Pro answering back with a defense of their own.
I mean, there's a lot of heavy-hitting ultimates on both of these squads, so these fights are going to be explosive. Somebody is going to die for sure here, and this is the movement after the fact. Fisheko and Hecate make a big rotation on top of the bleachers and just shoot the fish in the barrel. It's a very old saying, but it rings true here. And now, fairly even splits on the KDs through the first round, except for the 0-4 on Dosups, notably struggling there. Tough stuff in a couple of ways. Cassie provides a difficult matchup, I think, to fight into for Ruckus.
Right.
He has been very, very on point. Ricotta has in landing a lot of these disengages, putting big pressure on these tanks, and it's not going to get any easier. A lot of wreckers starting to come online for the Knights, so Dosup's survivability is only going to get worse from that first round on.
Saw that frequently yesterday with, or maybe it was Tuesday or Wednesday with Torvald coming into the mix. Wrecker, certainly detrimental to shield health, as the item goes. Fisheko trying to start things off, controlling this fidget spinner area, as important as it is.
Aha! The lesser-known map hazard.
The lesser-known map hazard. I was going to say, I don't think I've ever seen somebody die in the lava fall, but in he goes. Seems like an unsafe thing. OSHA needs to get on the board here. A lava waterfall in the background of the mill where
that's an employment hazard for sure.
The Poppy Bomb into the King Bomb, looking for a target. It's going to stun up the Khan on the backside. Not going to have the follow-up damage, at least at the moment yet. Pretty even so far on the point, right into a Dread Serpent. That's unfortunate. Payan Ricotta starting off this fight very well for the Pittsburgh Knights. Some ultimates starting to get popped. Payan trying to clean up the Inara. Does so on Vex, does so on Pule, and the Pittsburgh Knights with some well-timed, well-aimed ultimates retake the point and find themselves firmly in control, moving towards their second point.
I mean, there's so much. The overpowers, the seismic crashes, a lot of instant, almost no wind-up initiates and counter-initiates. We've seen Dread Serpent be very, very effective at dismantling some of the aggression we've seen today out of Pips and Inaras and things of the like. Big CC ultimates that force your team to want to clump up and get aggressive. Very heavily punished, and that's a lot of what we're seeing here today. But Dosups finds a nice entry frag for his squad to keep them in it. However, Hecate does fall, and that opens the door for the Knights to come back in.
No room for error here for VP. 81% on the point for them. Whoever wins this team fight could likely get the point. He finds one onto Payan, gets walled up to the roof, but he finds a little angle anyway. He's putting in damage, but you got to watch out from your backside. Khan coming in, cleans up Doseps, and now it's down to G-Bunny trying to clean up this fight. Dethroner finds Fisheko as well. Pittsburgh Knights firmly in control of this fight. unless something Virtus.Pro can pull out, changes the tide, but it does not look like that's going to happen. Ricotta seals the deal on the second point here on Splitstone Quarry.
It might just be too dangerous on Cassie. I mean, it's so fun to watch, specifically Ricotta and Shadow, two guys that just struggled in their PPL careers before today. I mean, Shadow's had a great performance subbing in for the Renegades. Ricotta has been on fire all game long. He was on fire in the set against Ninjas in Pajamas. And it's just, I think it's a wake-up call for a lot of people, including a lot of PPL players, to just say, hey, you know, let's not always judge a book by its cover here. Let's you know, figure out, you know, these are great players. They just maybe not finding the right teams to play with. And the same rings true for Cusscutie, for Dosups, for Vex, for Gara, for all of these XG2 and Fnatic members who are incredible players, but just could never put it together as a squad.
It's just so funny. He keeps jumping around in the overpower. They do clean up the Bomb King on the backside. Khan finally dropping as well. Yeah, so looking to find their synergy, and that's a bit of the growing pains early on here, and I think that's sort of a point you were trying to make, is that a lot of these teams are still trying to figure themselves out. There's obviously a lot of history, but save a couple of the teams in the league here, you know, there's been a lot of changes pretty much across the board. I mean, Envy, Na'Vi staying relatively the same, but a lot of these players getting figured out and starting to learn here. Ricotta certainly one to keep the eyes on, his Cassie especially, making the waves here in the first couple of days. But in the meantime, the defense is stalled out, or the offense rather, has stalled out a little bit here on Splitstone Quarry. Virtus.Pro doing a good job. They have 5 ultimates available, only 2 up on the side of the Knights, and the fight's starting to break out. There's the Dread Serpent, into the wall goes the Ruckus. Ricotta finding himself another double kill in this fight. Now he's looking to keep the pressure on, Inara in his eyes. Is he going to have the follow-up damage, though? Not at the moment. They're looking to stagger some of these kills, get that payload moving forward. Back to the Inara he goes. She will fall next.
Really good movement through that fight from Ricotta. I love the way he's always ready to rotate onto that support, but the second it's not a great kill, and this is the matchup I'm talking about. Look at how he's just shredding, what was that, 4 bolts? Like, he is shredding Dosups to pieces. It's so difficult. Not only is Dosups fighting into record 2, but the additional big game HP true damage shred. It is tough, man.
Tough to go up against. They'll need to find a way around it. Pule finding a couple, finding the pip to start off this fight. Hecate and Fisheko dropping one of their own. There's the Hexafire pouring out damage in onto the side of the Knights. That'll be too much for them to withstand. The last 2 members are going to fall here. Overtime ticking away. Virtus.Pro find themselves their second point. So they're doing well on defense. They're finding a way to make it work. They got to figure out their points fights, though. You got to win one to win the game.
That's right. The Knights can just keep on keeping on at this point. Ricotta is quickly becoming almost too scary, I think, to let through on Cassie. He looked phenomenal on it yesterday, and he's going to be comfortable playing it today. The captain for this Pittsburgh Knights squad, despite his, I would say, relative inexperience to some of the other guys on his squad, specifically looking at Cusscutie, who, though he has never actually captained one of his teams, he always felt that way because he's a very big presence, personality, all of the above for him. And Fisheko still having a good game despite his squad struggling a little bit to figure out this point fight. 17-6 though for Ricotta on the Cassie is certainly something to overcome. And then again, Dosups is getting overpowered a lot, but 4-11 still ain't where you want to be.
Well, it's tough when you have the Cassie breathing down your neck the entire time, getting a couple shots in, you're almost down to nothing.
Probably wise,
electing to utilize his King Bomb to just stay behind the wall. Not ideal, but not detrimental. Doesn't fall on the backside of it. Instead, Payan is the first one to die in round number 5 here. Hecate now putting out some shots. The Dome Shield's going to come out reactionary, trying to keep the Barrack alive. And Dethroner doing a good job of doing just that here at the moment. In the meantime, though, you got to watch out. Virtus.Pro have taken the point up to 66%. Dosups falls again, so that's without the Ruckus, but Virtus.Pro has proven that they can fight at a deficit, at least so far here in this game, but 2 men down, both of them being your tanks. Pittsburgh Knights firmly retake control of the point here and get their point climbing.
And though that King Bomb doesn't hit anyone or kill anyone, that just goes to show what the PPL is about. It's a chess match right now. And though they don't really even, again, hit anyone, they move everyone, control the flow of where the champions are on this map. And that was enough for the Virtus.Pro boys to get out to a really nice lead, find themselves a couple of early kills on a different spot on the map. Convergence is going to go fishing and come up with a couple of catches.
And that's exactly what they needed, because another good Dread Serpent led to a Pittsburgh Knights kill to open up this fight here. But on the back side of that convergence, some more Virtus.Pro players are falling as well. And Pittsburgh Knights still firmly in control of this point fight.
They got to get paying out of here.
The Inara is very, very low right now. Down goes Doe. Next on the menu is Inara, but she's going to turn around the damage. Pule, great job. Red and blue coming up here on the scoreboard. Both teams going back and forth. Unable to get the touch, though, and the Knights capture it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's just 2 DPS players. It's Akate and Fisheko. That's a tough one to try and get against 2 front lines and a healer, I believe. Fisheko did a good job punching his way through that pip to take control of a really important angle for the blasters, right? Bomb King and Pip both want to have that little kind of splash damage angle.
Right.
Though it is around a line of sight, they can both get some good work done there. And Payan has certainly been getting the better of that sort of under bleacher control.
And this is where we've seen Virtus.Pro succeed. I mean, it's not necessarily otherworldly on Splitstone Core to do a good job on defense, but Virtus.Pro has really been able to find their footing here. Hexafire coming out. Barrick's going to be his only target. Nobody wanting to peek around that corner. Instead, he's going to trade out his life. So a bit interesting. Not a lot of backup there from his team. Cusscutie finds a couple for himself. Hecate doing his best to answer back, and he finds 1. But G-Bunny now finding 2 as well. Pittsburgh Knights, a clean, not necessarily fully clean, 5-for-1 trade. They'll take that 10 times out of 10. The payload gets moving forward. They didn't have to invest too much. Just the Dread Serpent.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many people that hit, but again, it comes back to, though Dosups isn't killing anyone with that, that's okay if you do something with the space that he just won with that Hexafire. I'm not exactly sure. It could have been Virtus.Pro grouped up to do something with what Dosups was giving them, but they got punished by a Dread Serpent. Hard to tell, hard to say, hard to call which way it's going to go there, but Dosups has definitely struggled this game, and it has not been easy. He's not been finding a lot of success.
Lots of ultimates coming out now. Pittsburgh Knights pretty much down the board, utilize all of them, and as such, 5 down now on the side of Virtus.Pro, and that'll be it. They're going to push it through. Pittsburgh Knights find themselves 4-2 victory here in game number 1. So coming out very hot here against Virtus.Pro. Virtus.Pro, that's their first game here in the Premier League, so maybe just needing to dust off the cobwebs a little bit, maybe feeling a little bit rusty, but Pittsburgh Knights look great.
Yeah, they certainly do, and keep your heads up. This is a best of 7, long way to go here, Virtus.Pro. Just keep talking, communicating, and that's something I think the Latin American guys actually do very, very well. I will say Vex, Fisheko, and Dosups could all learn a thing in that regard, because they are used to coming in, Fnatic and G2, of being basically the undefeated team. So anytime things don't go their way, they don't know what to do. They don't know what it's like to lose, and they don't know how to bounce back, because everything they do always works. Whereas these boys, Pule and Hecate, they got to fight a lot harder for their wins in the past. So they know what it is to bounce back. They know what it is to go the distance. Every time we talk about these dudes in an international set, it almost always is followed up with the statement, Game 7.
Well, maybe a Game 7 on the books here for us today, but before we can get there, we've got to talk about Game 1 and set up Game number 2, and to do just that, let's send it back on over to the desk.
Well, the Knights are able to take their map pick, which is not too surprising in the grand scheme of things, although it is definitely stand out just because they had a couple of good moments, and very specifically, they had a couple of good players in that Ricotta looked insane on that Cassie.
You know, a little early celebration for me, and I think a little early dejection on the side of Virtus.Pro.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're putting a lot into this matchup, but it's just one game, and you have 7 that you can play, and you've got 4 that you've got to win. So early celebration, I mean, what happens if you lose next game? Are you down and dejected again? Now it's a best of 5. You got to start over. So the goal is to know that you did the right things, take what you can from it, and move on. And then I think Virtus.Pro, in that regard, need to look at what didn't work there and how could they, improve. There were little min-max moments, healing Puleole when he was about 60% health when Hecate was basically about to die. Vex misclicked on that one, or maybe that was the intention, but they lose Hecate. Puleole seems high. Ricotta on the Cassie. Unstoppable. 21-8. This is the level of Invocal that we've been seeing, and he's definitely proving himself to have stepped it up from yesterday. So I think you just have to look at some of these things, be more realistic. I mean, he just had a crazy game on Cassie.
Yeah, and I had to write it down just to make sure that there was a little bit more background. I'm sure the stat will come up here, but yeah, the 144,000 damage.
He disengaged a chicken.
And there's a lot of it where whenever you saw Dosups, if it was through Ricotta's perspective, Dosups was dead. There's just no winning that engagement. And the same thing can almost be said for Puleole. There was just never a place that felt safe. And so what I'm looking at is not only were the Knights comfortable on their map pick, but the Virtus.Pro draft kind of fed into Rakata's pickup. So what would you like to see maybe shifted? Like, do you want to see a Cassie banned? Do you want to see her taken away? Like, how do they deal with that?
Well, you know, traditionally, that's not where Hecate kind of lives. He loves those hit scans. So the Cassie isn't something that you just hard swap onto Hecate. That would have to go to Fish, and Fish is a blaster. So Cassie's not as high a priority. And if Rakata can do this well on the side of Pittsburgh Knights with the Cassie, I mean, yeah, that's a problem. The two options are to take it away in the ban phase, which is possible. We've seen some European teams actually do that in the first couple of sets. Or you can actually look to, say, Hecate, we're going to get you off a hit scan, or just let him have it and try and get a good matchup. The key is the Ruckus is going to fall out of favor if Rakata has this much room to punish him on the big game.
Well, there was a lot there to unpack on the side of VP, and a couple of things that went wrong, although I feel like the things that went wrong were more not even in their control. It was just the Knights being able to play incredibly well
they were good
through that map. So I'm interested to see where they are going to try to take this set, because they get the next map pick, and what exactly they're going to switch to, because Fisheko has made a name for himself on Bomb King. Hecate has made himself a name on Leon. And there's actually even a point during that I was laughing because I was like, he's so good. There were 4 people in front of him, and they're all looking at him, and he still got a kill before he died.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like I said, it's the talent. It's there. It's just the matter of how they can execute it and bring it together, and how fast as well, because you lose 1, but then you lose 2. You know, like Kanga's in a position. Now they're fighting from behind a little bit. You know, having 0 wins after the first week, it's not what you would like to see. But Ice Mine should give them a little bit of that time they've been craving, Gorb.
And you know, in my mind, this is very much a Hecate Pule Ule. Like, it feels kind of like their influence on this, because going back, again, a little over a year ago, you're looking at a map where you're down 3-0, you're in the semifinals for a world championship, and you're like, how do we fight back? Where do we go? You take it to Ice Mines, and everything starts to come back for you there. That's where Hecate were. That's where Pule Ule were against Na'Vi at the time. And I feel like that's a great spot because, again, yes, it buys you time. Yes, it's a slower map. But admittedly, these teams have been getting better at it. I don't think we've seen a true 4-3 really long-haul grinding Ice Mines as much as we've seen teams that either are very close and making it go the distance, or a 4-1, a 4-2.
And I actually don't know if we're going to see much more of the 4-3 grindy style, because all these teams know how to execute. That's something when you don't have the ability, the talent, or the experience on your team, and it's not a shot, it's just saying a PML team who has less time playing together or have not been at this high level for as long, that might go longer. In a game like this, you know, if they're going to step on your throat if you make a mistake, and they know what that mistake is. So I don't expect this to be the crazy match that some people might. This could be over in 10 minutes. We saw Renegades do it. The early Makoa definitely smells like aggressiveness to me, Gore.
I mean, respect begets respect. You ban the Cassie. You recognize that was a huge problem for us. We will willingly give you Grover. We will willingly take a Makoa. We will leave 2 things open if it means that you don't get the thing that just rocked our world last game.
The big question here is are they going to have just as much trouble with Payan on this pip? Because he was phenomenal. And you look at Rakata, but the reason it worked so well, I mean, how many disengages and shots did he get on chickens? A lot. I mean, at least 3 to 5. And he's, 5 at least on the other ones were just
in this game,
using big game on Ruckus. So a lot of those 2 counters allowed Rakata just get way ahead in the kills. I like this lineup. You got a great point tank, the best aggressive tank in the game, essentially, and a Leon.
If you are looking for a good composition, though, as a pip to try and use that evil mojo, I can't think of 2 better targets than to try and hit a Makoa and an Inara. It's just, get rid of frontline free card. As long as you use it. Resilience, probably going to be high on the list here for Virtus.Pro, but they're hovering the Barrack, and they have to figure out what they want to replace that Cassie with, or if they want to go for potentially another frontline to try and keep that DPS pick for their counter.
Seems like the Fernando's going to be a good choice here. I think we saw the way that they like to use it. It's good in corridors because the fireball can hit multiple people. It's good with the shield because it blocks off almost entire avenues of damage that could be coming to your team on Ice Mines because it is so corridor focused. So he is definitely the tank that they want to go for here. Even though Ashe is available, right now Virtus.Pro can flex to their healer, which I would assume at this point is going to be Damba, and then also figure out how they want to support Fisheko. The Bomb King is available, but are they going to go for it? I thought he played pretty nicely last round.
Well, the Dambas hovered over. Bomb King hovered over. Honestly,
It's a good choice.
and I actually, what I like about this the most is I say, you know what? Cassie was a problem for us. Ruckus didn't work out the way we wanted to. We grab 4 of the 5 same things, ban Cassie, and we just scoop up the Makoa. Like, we literally upgrade
change
one of
Ruckus
our
for Makoa,
champions,
yeah.
and we get rid of the thing that was causing us the trouble. This is Virtus.Pro, in my mind, saying, we think we still have it. Like, it wasn't our draft.
I honestly think this is like the perfect adjustments. It's everything we talked about. And Knights now are forced to go even deeper into their champion pool because you saw how well Ricotta played. But now you're going to have him on something like a Vivian. I don't know if I disagree with this, but it's interesting. And this is where I talked about the champion pool that Ricotta brings, the Vivians, the Victors. In many ways, it gives them depth, but it's also a little odd because not a lot of people play this. So I wonder how VP will react.
Normally, I would be surprised to see Vivian come out over Victor, but I feel like Vivian in this instance, specifically because like where Wrecker is going to be in terms of her ability to break down Inara walls as well, it's probably just a comfort thing. But I mean, are you thinking like is Knights a little too outlandish for you, or does this feel like a good Ice Mines draft?
This feels like it can definitely work. I think the shielding on the side of Knights is actually going to be pretty impactful, and so they're going to have a big quandary. Do you rush this Cauterize 3 for this Pip, for this Grover? Do we rush Resilience for this Pip? Or do we rush Wrecker to get rid of this Fernando, this Barrack, this Vivian shielding that's going to stop a lot of the damage that's coming through from the presence on Leon? I kind of like what Knights have done here. They do force VP to answer some questions.
And the items are probably going to be the most important thing because you can't have them all.
Yeah,
you don't have enough credits. I mean, at the very beginning, you start with the 300, and then you have to hope you capture a couple of points in order to keep that influx coming for you. So Virtus.Pro are definitely going to be on the line as to whether or not they can get it. But we're going to Ice Mines, and it's going to be where they can try to tie this up, or if the Knights can put themselves up 2-0. Nick, Dave, take it away.
Ice Mines it is. House band jamming out in the background. Talked to the conductor. They requested no face cam for themselves, so unfortunately that one's going to have to go on the back burner. Ooh. But entering back here, hopefully, are is Virtus.Pro. And they have a pretty good lineup to do so, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely rock solid standard stuff. I want to bring back the point that Cuss made during our pregame interview in that they've been almost soft blacklisted from scrimming against each other, right? They wanted to sort of keep what they were doing under wraps, Virtus.Pro that is. So interesting to see that it is kind of actually the Knights that are going for what is a little bit less standard, I would say, based on what we have seen so far. Obviously, we really didn't know what teams were going to be rocking and rolling hard for in the PPL out of the gate. And again, a great point on the desk is that it is hard to decide what you want more of, Cauterize or Wrecker. First blood will fall for the Knights.
Ricotta picking up right where he left off on the Vivian this time instead of the Cassie. Unfortunately, he falls this time. Pule getting him hooked in. Hecate cleaning it up. Virtus.Pro looking to retake here. Pittsburgh Knights off to a really good start, though, 45%, and they've got a great little stronghold built up in the back of this point here. It's going to be hard to break through.
2 barrack turrets, Pip sitting above all of that mess, and then a Grover just yeeting from the back line. Looking for the hook. He's going to find it, but needs more damage. Early game healing is just too much for Pule to punch through.
Yeah, there's no follow-up. I don't know where the follow-up would have come from. That was basically in a back hallway. What it does do, though, is forces the Pittsburgh Knights off of the point. Now Virtus.Pro have been able to get on and get some percentage from themselves as well. Here comes a seismic crash onto Dethroner. Doe finds himself, the first kill of this team fight, opening things up here for Virtus.Pro to potentially find it. A nice Dread Serpent sends Pip running, but there's no follow-up damage on the backside. Ricotta falling to Fasheko as well. And Fasheko just pouring out damage from this Bomb King. There's no eyes on him right now, and at 93%, Virtus.Pro look poised to take point number 1.
So in these point number 1 fights, the teams that pop their ultimates first basically have a 100% win rate at this point. This is what I want to see from these squads. And shout-outs to, I think it was Dosups. Pip may have beat him there by a hair's length, but again, Dosup uses his seismic crash first, so incredible stuff for him to be able to get that one charged up as quick as he did. And again, big shout-outs to Vex. The counter-initiate comes through with the Evil Mojo, but the Dread Serpent is basically already flying through the air to, again, counter-aggress. Maldamba ultimate is really, really good at sort of, everyone wants to group up and collapse onto these Evil Mojos. So the Dread Serpent becomes a very, very good counter engagement tool. Counter to the counter, I guess you would say. You know, that's what it is. It's a chess game. These guys are making moves and counter moves, and whoever's left with more resources at the end of the day comes out on top.
Well, Virtus.Pro, I mean, they look to be on the back foot for much of that, first 2 minutes of the game. We didn't get a chance to dive too much into it, but Pittsburgh Knights had it pretty much locked down there. You saw the barrack turrets, you saw Pip coming up from above, and they just found the right timing. It was the Makoa hook that really changed, or the Makoa pressure rather, that really changed the way that first fight went. And I think you said it best. It was just kind of how they utilized that pressure. The small bit of pressure they were able to find ended up turning into a first point capture for him.
Getting that counter kill onto Ricada shortly after losing first blood was really, really big for them. Not letting Ricada get to a spot where he's going to get too much space created for him. If he ever gets to a point where he's behind Fernando and Dethroner is just being a mobile deflector shield for him, that's a really, really dangerous spot to be. Vivian is not a super common pick either, so if they can get Ricada not confident on this early, that's going to be really good for them. Phenomenal hook from Pule Ule. Fisheko really needed to stay alive there, and they may have been able to transition this win into an actual conversion here. He might be able to get back when he's really needed, but Fisheko definitely dying there is a no-no.
It's tough. He finds himself two, gets himself cleaned up on the back end of it, so he at least did a little something for his team before he fell on the backside. They do have 3 ultimates ready. Pittsburgh Knights have 2, basically 4 actually up on their side. That Dread Serpent, though, that's going to come up quickly, and those have been pretty on point in this game and today on a whole. We've seen a lot of pretty team fight changing Dread Serpent, so that's certainly something to keep an eye out for. At the moment, though, Pittsburgh Knights doing a good job of playing stalwart to this offensive push.
It's all Knights on the map control right now, and the shred, the ramp from Ricada. Once he's been firing for 2 seconds, his talent is going to provide him with even more bonus damage as he blasts through that Makoa shield. And again, when Fernando is in front of him, he is a very, very dangerous problem. Going to be looking for the hook here, I think, onto the barrack. Dread Serpent to the high ground to kick it off.
There it is, but the Immortal answers
he
it
walked
back.
into it.
Ricada walks into it, but he's getting turned around. He does drop on the backside. Now Pule is looking to follow it up with some kills of his own. There's the seismic crash. Finds a couple to stun up there, but Hecate going huge on the Leon right now. Finds Pan. Finds Vivian on the backside as well. And now Dethroner in this same fight. Pule, your hooks are not missing right now. And Virtus.Pro converts the point into a push and find themselves up 2-0. All smiles on
baby.
the faces
There it is.
of Virtus.Pro.
I love it. Powerful team fighting there from Virtus.Pro. Pule saves the Ancient Rage too, which is colossal for this next round. Remember that angle he was playing where he's sort of poking out? He got a good hook on the Pip. Then he's poking people in the window. There's a lot of healing coming through in this first round. Now he should have his level 2 offensive item online. He's probably going for Cauterize. I'm not sure that he'd be looking too much for the Wrecker, though it wouldn't be bad if he did either. At this point, though, with Ancient Rage still available, he can just bulldoze the Virtus.Pro high ground. And as long as he doesn't give Evil Mojo or something like that, he's now put himself and his team in a really good spot based on his trigger discipline in the first round.
Does go Cauterize, gets Riding and Rejuvenate as well. Does not.
Look at him, he's ripping.
He's flying around, getting himself into position early on, and he does just that. And this is where we saw him make a difference at the end of the last game, literally the exact same spot. Here's the Ancient Rage. He's going to start swinging away. Doesn't find any hits. Finds the hook, though. Pip managing to bounce around and stay alive. He finally drops on the backside, so Pule saving it for the right time. Finds himself a kill. Hecate cleans up one. Now poor Fernando stuck in a corner. He's going to be able to dash out, but what really matters is Virtus.Pro 60% on the point now and zoning out the Knights.
Staggering these kills, too. Very, very good rhythm as they're coming through. They're going to try to get this barrack up here in time, but I just don't know if I see this one coming through to be a touch. 96 in climbing, and they had ultimates still ready. Who was back there capping? I guess that probably would have been Vex. So good stuff from the frontliners to be able to do it without sustain as well.
And that was just a clean team fight win, all kicked off by the saved Ancient Rage from Pule. That turns into a point capture that then turns into staggered kills. And they still have a lot of utility available.
They're setting up a trap. Look at this. Watch this hook.
Up.
No! The fireball from the Dethroner killed all the bombs, dude!
Unfortunate timing there.
Boo!
Boo, Dethroner. Boo.
I wanted to see it.
He sniffed it out. Nearly works out. Instead, they're turning around some of the kills. The Damba actually stays alive. He finally drops, and it's just red and blue all across the board right now. 3 down for either side. It's going to be a team fight wash here at the moment. The Throner playing spoiler to a nice little trap that Virtus.Pro had set, though.
That was you know, it's on paper always been there, but it's very rarely executed on. And People used to do that, like run chain reaction, throw 6 bombs on the ground, Makoa hooks it, it's like 8,000 damage, and Inara just like poofs into little pebbles and gravel and whatever else the hell she's made out of.
I don't feel so good.
Mr. Stark. Oh man,
God.
it is.
I need a tissue.
It is the Thanos snap equivalent there. I mean, that's one hell of a combination. And again, looking at these 5 ults for Virtus.Pro, when they're up and available, until Resilience comes online, I don't know if there's a hope for the Knights. I mean, this is such a power lineup of ults. Didn't get the Immortal off either. Yikes.
When you're getting stunned up by the King Bomb, hard to get the Immortal out. Pacheco finds 2. Hecate, that 1-2 punch is starting to roll here for Virtus.Pro. He cleans up 1 as well. Pip has to go down as well as G-Bunny.
He's at 97% when he dies on the Immortal. If he had just been half a second closer, man, he may have been able to save that fight and bring it back. There it is now into the Dread Serpent.
Nice.
I like it, but still kills on the backside.
Pacheco cannot be stopped
Holy
right now.
crap.
Finds himself 2. I think it was Pule added another one for himself at the end of that fight. Virtus.Pro. Wow,
Yeah.
that's a flip-flop from game number 1.
It is.
Find themselves a win here in game number 2, and they've dusted off the cobwebs.
It's the telltale sign of a good set when both of these teams they're leading on their best maps. So it's not outlandish to see a 4-0 go either way through the first 2, especially given, remember how I was talking about depending on who you scrim, their power picks might become, maps you try and avoid and ban and stuff like that. So that's a big part of it. What is the power map pick for both of these teams? And that's what kind of leads, I think, to this 4-0 here. Now this set gets interesting. Now this gets spicy. The best of 5, so to speak, with teams going in at 1 apiece.
Virtus.Pro, one of the scarier teams on paper, especially when they're feeling good. Game number 2 goes the way of VP. Game number 3 on the way, but let's send it back to the desk to break it down.
So, Evan, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Would you believe me if I told you that was an Ice Mines map?
I would.
Sub 10 minutes?
Yes, because I said that.
Ridiculous. Yeah, you did. At one point, you were looking at it, and you're like, this is going to be less than 10 minutes.
No, I said it on the desk, too. I said it could happen, and I said Renegades also did it yesterday as well. I would expect that. And that's exactly what they did. But you know what? I think that the Ice Mines culture is changing. People know this map now. You're not, especially a good team, they're going to step on your throat if they know what they're doing right. I definitely know I said that part. And then the key to it is that I wasn't sure about Rakata's Vivian. I feel like they kind of went into some. This lineup is like kind of decent champions, but it doesn't mesh. Allowing the Makoa, banning the Cassie, getting rid of the, I mean, Virtus.Pro's adjustments were absolutely perfect.
And I think when you look at it, even though he was 8 and 5, Pacheco had a huge impact on the Bomb King, warranting himself a big threat.
Yes.
And because of that, you see Pule Ule maybe not taking as much of the brunt of damage, saving his life a lot of times with that ebb and flow card as well.
Yeah.
The 6 and 1, several moments where he just looks more comfortable on this Makoa than we saw during the last game. But who else but the man himself, again, Hecate. I believe it was 11 and 1 there coming out of this game. And there were so many moments where it's just, I don't know how to describe it other than he was just aiming better than anybody he was against.
Oh, and that's definitely like it. That's what Hecate brings to the table. He just aims better. It's kind of like Freeze God. It's kind of like I said, in Vocal, these things. There's nothing too surprising about it. And even a lot of the MV superstars and talking to them, they've been saying, really DPS, when you learn it, it's the easiest role in the game. But it's also the hardest to max because it's just about how many shots you hit. It's not hard to find the angle or be where you need to be or make the decision. There's no decision to make. Shoot people. But if you hit all of them, then you become elite. That's where Tenor raises the bar. That's where Invoker raises the bar. That's where Rock raises the bar. And Hekate's always been there as well. He's almost set the bar since entering the scene for great aim.
Well, one of the things that caught my eye early on in that game was the fact that the point capture went very heavily in favor of Knights at first.
Yes.
Then Virtus.Pro got a fight back. They pop a Seismic Crash before the Evil Mojo can come out. Once the Evil Mojo does come out, there was a Dread Serpent to kind of warrant it away. Do you think that's kind of the strategy, I guess, to go for when you're fighting against that Pip, especially for those long first point fights, to thwart that with a Dread Serpent?
I think it's a great combination of aggression and aggression. I mean, I think they're just mashing that. And instead of turning a moment where you feel that you're confident to go and wipe a team, it now becomes a moment where you could get wiped. And that is so hard to react to when your mode is offensive, but then you realize you have to be defensive. When you're planning on going to vacation, then you realize you have a project due and it's due in an hour back at work. And you're like, wait a second, whoa, I was in a totally different mode. Not easy for these guys to manage.
Not saying I've ever been in a spot to experience having to do a project in about an hour, but you know.
Exactly. And it is Ice Mines going the way of Virtus.Pro. So just to be clear, Virtus.Pro take that second game on Ice Mines. The set is tied up 1-1. And in the combination of what I've seen, this is why I said don't get too excited, guys. It's best of 5 now. I mean, you can't be acting like you're the best team in the world after winning one game, and you can't act like you're the worst after losing. So now it's even. They both have thrown some punches. Settling down into this, I think Virtus.Pro have figured out a really important key, which is that Cassie needs to be a ban for us because we just don't have any great way to utilize it the same way that Pittsburgh Knights do. And I'm going to say that Hecate needs to get his Cassie to the level where he feels confident first picking that thing. Because it is insanely dominant right now in this meta.
And she has been so good in so many different scenarios. Dominant, I feel like it's still undercutting what she can do. And that's the thing that I think is more impressive. And why I'm okay seeing her banned out. A lot of people might think, man, why ban Cassie? You could ban a frontline. You can get rid of Makoa. You could get rid of XYZ. Virtus.Pro being first pick for this map is going to make them less inclined to ban out of Makoa. And definitely more inclined to get rid of the Cassie. That still caused them a lot of trouble, even though it was 2 games ago. The burn is still fresh. I have one on my finger from like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So they stay a while.
I think it was just the Grover Pip. It was a weird double draft there up top. I think you can always last pick with Pip. I don't think it's ever going to be something that people are rushing to.
Come on,
and they've done it 2 games in a row. Worked game 1, did not work game 2 on the side of Pittsburgh. So now Virtus.Pro with the Ashe. This has been questionable for me. I've seen Ashe underperform today in the hands of Renegades, but I've also seen G-Bunny make great use of Ashe yesterday. So I think it's not a bad pick. But you know you're giving up the Leon and the Torval. What's on their mind here? I think a Kinessa is what Virtus.Pro are kind of positioning for.
And that's one of the things. Frozen Guard, we haven't actually gotten to see that in a little while, but I've always mentioned this map has various playstyles. One of those playstyles is very much, we're going to put a sniper just over in this corner, and when they win their fight on that side, they move up onto a balcony, and they can just power damage into the point. So it's going to be a little bit more dangerous. But you're going to have to look for someone who can pop some bubbles as well. I actually like scooping up the Leon away from the other side, just making sure the Wrecker can't take down the Torval.
Well, to me, going for that, it makes it even clearer that they want the Kinessa, in my opinion. And whether it was Virtus.Pro who had thought that way initially, that's why they picked the Ashe and didn't first pick Leon, I think that it's a strong setup right now. They've got Inara, who gives Ashe so much more freedom to operate. She's got great knockback. She's very good on this map. She can hit her head up and down on a lot of the areas in the push or on the point to really create some crazy stun potential. And really, instead of the Kinessa, they're hovering over the Shaolin and the Zen. I'm actually not surprised at I am surprised at this. And wow, Pittsburgh now have the last pick to be able to round it out.
Leads me to battle.
And here comes the Koga.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, it could work. He's been nerfed in the next patch. You're absolutely right. Holy moly, high five.
I actually feel really good
job.
about that one.
Wow. They do it. So, okay, we'll see how this works. I mean, you have damage amp on 2 sources. You got passive healing. You got agility healing with Wind's Embrace 5. You're essentially negating any amount of health that you're losing in Dragon Stance. This should be a matter of just hitting your shots. Nar's not going anywhere. It's going to be up to the Zen and the Shaolin to put enough pressure on early to make sure that this doesn't work out in their favor. But what a lineup.
As I could hear Nick saying, hit your shots, kid. That's all you got to do. That's literally, I mean, Leon, Koga, you've got the damage amp, you've got the bubble, you are safe. You've got a point tank and barrack. The only downside is that your team doesn't have as much healing, but the support should come through in form of the shield. Whereas Virtus.Pro, they have the Shaolin. We've seen it work the last couple of days, although it's still on the fence for me as to whether or not it should be at the top of the list. But it's Frozen Guard. It's the Koga. Let's go to it.
From one ice map on over to the other. From Ice Mines on over to Frozen Guard we go. Interesting lineup here for the Pittsburgh Knights. They get themselves Torvald, Genos, Koga. A potent stack you got going on over there.
Definitely was. You know, it's a console god comp here. I think Flashpoint would be drooling at the chance to grab this one up. And some feelings around Koga have definitely kind of been known. Random hates this pick. Thinks it's terrible, but the Knights have certainly drafted exactly the composition that it can be successful with. Luminaries activated, the bubbles activated. Zin knows exactly that it's time to go. He takes one claw shot and pillows.
Says goodbye. In the meantime, Inara gets herself onto the point, and not too much of a threat on Koga right now. That shield staying pretty certain on him. That entire time, and not really a lot of damage coming out for either side. It's been pretty much just passive point capping here on the side of Virtus.Pro. They're
all it takes is one.
They're playing patiently at the moment. Oh, wow.
Somebody dies. Now
There's
we
Ricotta.
see it.
There's the damage. There's the burst in onto Fasheko. That's just a few claws, and down you go. They are able to melt that shield relatively quickly with a bit of a concerted effort there, but it took a lot. It took a lot to get in there, and that just shows you one Koga kill and just a little bit of pressure is enough to push Virtus.Pro off 80–90% now on the point.
Swinging for almost 1,000 damage on some of the easiest auto attacks to hit in the game. Ricotta is going to fall, though. Fasheko gets his revenge. The Master comes out on top of the Student for once, and 96% for the Knights, but they have to back off here. It's 2 kills. That's all that has happened in this game so far. So if somebody can grab something before Ricotta gets back, then there's a real shot here, but it's going to come down to the wire. Overtime is about to be started. No, they don't get it.
Dethroner was the one in position there on the barrack to make the cap, and then he just fell. In the meantime, Payan finds himself 3, but it's more of just an answer back onto the point. What Virtus.Pro will really care about is the fact that they got 1 kill there. They're staggering out Doe. She's going to fall, but 1-0, and then it was really Barrack who was in position to contest there.
Yeah, I wonder what happened.
Vex cleaned him up right as the point was about to get captured, so I guess just enough burst damage went in on him. Pittsburgh Knights cleaned up some kill on the backside of the fight, but Virtus.Pro will be happy to take that for a 1-0 lead.
And it hasn't been super easy to get in there. Trying to dash on out, and goes into the Cyclone Strike in response to the Dread Serpent, and then Cusscutie catches them toes with the little time and space. I love it.
Toes.
Give me them toes, boy!
Oh, you do it so much better than I do. Pittsburgh Knights utilizing all their ultimates for a little bit of pressure here. The payload basically as far back as it could be without being back inside of the point. So doing a good job here on the defense starting off. Pule, though, trying to find some pressure. Hecate and Fasheko are going to do just that. Down goes Cuss, down goes Payan, down goes G-Bunny. That's a clean 3-0 sweep here for Virtus.Pro, but that's just to get the payload moving. They still got a long way to go with a minute left.
We still haven't seen one of those team fights where Koga just rips it all wide open, and maybe we never do, right? It still has yet to be proven successful at the PPL level. Virtus.Pro right now, I feel like, are doing a very good job. Obviously, they have 2 big, beefy frontliners. Hecate and Vex are staying very close to each other. Fasheko's the only one to be picked so far by it, but you can see all it's going to take is like a 1.5 seconds of a window if Hecate gets out of position and Ricotta finds the window.
I think he needs to be careful. I mean, this is how you play Koga with Torvald and Genos on your team, but he's essentially frontlining against the pressure of 3 or 4 people, finds the answer, finds the double, looking for the triple. Fasheko's going to be his target. Can he win the one-on-one? Not at the moment. Fasheko does drop it. Now it's on to Vex. Vex drops Ricotta, says no more for my team. Thank you very much. Koga dies. Dethroner drops Doe, but with 10 seconds left, the Knights are going to be able to zone, likely do an answer back to make it 1-1.
That's what I mean, though, with some of the easiest autos to hit in the game. Not even line of sight of Hecate, but the auto is just fat enough, and the hitboxes are, you know, big and cylindrical in Paladins, so he is able to find that needle thread around the fence. Into the backline. What a clean, if that Enlightenment hit, that might have been just the cleanest, meanest quadra kill of the PPL. Oh my goodness. And we've actually seen a decent amount of quadra kills and almost a pentakill yesterday. So high fragging meta. I have to say, I have enjoyed the picks. I do not feel as though the drafts have been stagnant. I really feel as though the meta game has been in a really good spot.
Definitely. A lot of little interesting picks, little interesting spices here and there that have made for some interesting fights. And unfortunately there for Payan, that triple kill coming out just a moment too late. If that team fight had happened just a few seconds earlier, likely would have ended in a Pittsburgh Knight capture. They do answer back with a defense and a point on the board of their own. And how this Koga gets involved this time will be interesting. I mean, we saw, I think, 2 kills happen before the point was captured last time. So it's really on the Koga, it's really on the Xin to make a difference in this fight. The banner's going to come smashing down. Payan's going to fall as a result. See the Dread Serpent on the backside, gets a few feared up and running away, but there's no kills coming out. There's the Hyper Beam gets him pushed away into the wall, though, and the fight's happening on the backside here inside of the Dome Shield. Pittsburgh Knights are starting to roll through Virtus.Pro. The health bars are going in their favor right now, but here's Ricotta fully hyped up, and he's hitting all of them. Finds 2, looking for a third here onto Vex, and the lowly healer's gonna have a hard time with this one. The unofficial triple comes out here for Ricotta, making that Koga pay off in the long run. Virtus.Pro 96%, but the Knights win a clean team fight.
Can we see the items? Does he have Illuminate, or did he just Luke Skywalker that fool? Oh my goodness gracious.
Luke Skywalker.
He is a Jedi. He knows everywhere Hecate is going to be, and my goodness gracious, what a little theatrical performance. The Cyclone Strike under the Dome Shield as well. I was going to comment how, you know, Virtus.Pro, I feel like, have the stronger suite of ultimates, but they definitely take a very headstrong approach to that team fight there. And Pittsburgh do a good job of absorbing that momentum and turning it back around.
Ooh, speaking of absorbing, Pacheco is absorbing in the wrong way. Too much damage there. He's able to stay alive, but has to force himself out of the fight. Cuss and Payne finding a couple for themselves. Enlightenment finds a second for Payne, a second for Ricotta off the screen. The 1-2 punch, the Leon, the Koga, they're rolling right now, and the Pittsburgh Knights get to try their hand at an offensive push.
A lot of spraying going on here from the Knights.
You just hear it.
A lot of emotes, a lot of sprays, and they're kind of laughing about it. It's a big part of their game plan, the gun twirl emote from Barrick as he just sits idly on the objective.
What's a cheesy lineup? I mean, what not to laugh about, what not to spray about? I mean, it's working for him, and I think the morale is high here for the Knights. Unfortunately, the linchpin of that lineup, the Koga, falls early on in this fight. Looking like a little bit of cleanup here onto the Barrack as well. Ooh, gets lifted up. Poulet finds the kill, but the Knights are on the back foot here, and their offensive push is going to get stalled.
Oh, he missed. Dave, but I told him not to, and he still did it. Why do you think he did that?
Ooh, the Enlightenment nearly finds the kill. Doe cleans him up anyway, so the Enlightenment down.
Poulet.
Poulet.
You Poulet.
Poulet the Poulet.
It's a high-risk shoulder bash there, because if you don't connect with your target, obviously you see what happens. You go flying down onto ice mines. And that's below this map. Cyclone Strike immune out again. Feared the second he comes out of it. And Ricotta almost pulls a Poulet there, driving off of the map.
Almost onto the side, off the screen. 2 kills coming up blue, but now the Koga's the one to watch. He's going to start to turn on here in this fight, and he's doing just that. Ash got his shoulder bash out of the fight right now, but not out of the range of the Koga claws.
Wow.
That's got to be annoying.
Very
You're trying to run,
impressive.
and you're just getting slashed from the back. With 50 seconds left, still about halfway to go.
Career-defining moment there for Ricotta. What a player, what a play. No, I'm trolling. I mean, that's what happens, man. Once he gets rolling, you really need your whole team to slow it down, because it's not just Koga, right? It's part Genos, part Torvald, and then Koga is just the big damage number on the screen.
That's true.
So it is a team effort here to make this work, and Ricotta is certainly more than capable of connecting with 90% plus of these auto attacks.
That's unfortunate. Just a couple of autos on a Pacheco equals 1 dead Xin. Ash able to get away with an inch of her life, but Hecate turns into the target. Looking for a triple now maybe onto the Inara. Finds himself 2 already. He's going to get out of it. Payan finds Dosips, and now he's just going to zone out, and it looks like the Knights are going to be able to push it through, make it 3-1. Is it just too much offensive pressure right now?
Yeah, I mean, when the Koga gets kind of out to the races, they've really done a good job at splintering Virtus.Pro. The first round, they played very well together. And Poulet the Foule goes flying off the map. But beside that point, Pacheco has done an extremely good job at just hanging in there, right? Just getting his hands up, staying on the ropes with this Koga for as long as possible so he doesn't get to blow this team fight wide open and start ripping everybody to pieces. Now, you see, it just takes a couple seconds, usually about 3 auto attacks, unless Hecate is literally full HP, and sometimes not even then if he's getting his full damage amp. He can take this Hecate Shaolin from 0 or from 100 down to 0, so the slash lines are not pretty. Virtus.Pro are going to have to Na'Vi their way out of this one.
All comes down to potentially one final point fight. The guys on the Knights have some ultimates. They have some streaks. This will be a high-powered final fight looking like here. Here comes the Ash banner. He's going to dash out of it, keep himself alive. G-Bunny falls on the back end. Pacheco finding himself 1. Dosips as well. So Virtus.Pro off to a very hot start here. Not too much invested. Just a few natural picks happening. Get them on the board. Fast cap's going to be hard to contest against here.
Yeah, definitely. And the zone is coming out here. This is probably it. Nobody's going to make it through on their horses to come close to touching this one. And what the Knights do a good job of there, and you know, the mind tricks aren't for everyone there, but the Void Grip is good. You can't actually do that while he's in stealth, and it can be called out by your healer. But they do a good job just navigating away. Ashe is the chosen sacrificial lamb this time that wants to sit on Rakata. She ults him by himself just to force him. He skewers away, but that's all good. That's now a 4v4 Virtus.Pro can take in with a far superior team composition. The rest of the Knights, aside from Payan's Leon, is designed just to keep Rakata alive and succeeding, right? So when they're forced to fight against an actual team comp that can, do it without one singular linchpin, so to speak, they don't really stand much of a chance.
Virtus.Pro doing a good job there of figuring out how to beat this Pittsburgh Knights lineup, and they'll look to continue to do that here on defense right for now. That's the key there. Payan going low, finding some damage onto Rakata. Pule cleaning up Payan, though, on the backside as well. Wait, no, Payan didn't find damage onto Rakata. That would be his own teammate. Fasheko cleans up G-Bunny. Virtus.Pro rolling now.
You never know, man. He's probably jealous of all the attention he's getting from all the Genos.
That's true. You would hate to see it. That's some early turmoil here for the team. You're doing too well.
Yeah.
Let me do something.
My turn. I want to bubble Torvald too.
Pittsburgh Knights now have the range. They have Shaolin, though, on the opposite side to be worried about here. No ultimates up really outside of the spite for Virtus.Pro. Pittsburgh Knights having 4 to play around with here. Maybe wanting to save that for the next point fight, though. It's going to be important. He's committing. The Enlightenment doesn't find its target. Instead, he finds his death. So that's an opening here for Virtus.Pro. They're looking to get into the base of Pittsburgh Knights, and with 2 down, soon to be 3, it looks like this payload's going to be able to go through.
Fish is playing really well. It might not look like it because his job isn't super pretty, and he's done a good job, again, staying alive against this the pressure from this Koga, who is just being babysat. But he's finding his opportunities to get in there and actually find good damage. He's connecting a great percentage of his auto attacks. And, building Wrecker, right? So when you have to build against these Torvald bubbles, you can't be as aggressive because you're not getting, those early cauterized levels online, so you're not able to commit to those kills. And very plain and simple final fight there. Payan just commits and does not get what he wanted, so it's very easy for Virtus.Pro at that point.
Especially there towards the back. I mean, if you think you can find a pick, that's one thing. But if you end up dying, that's a Leon off the high ground, which is where she succeeds here on a map like Frozen Guard. So just a little bit of a difference, making the big difference here on Frozen Garden. We're going into a final point fight here, 3-3. Looking like Pittsburgh Knights has the ultimate advantage, at least at the moment. The Enlightenment's still down. Actually, I shouldn't say that. 3 ultimates, 95 or above here on Virtus.Pro. So they'll have him back. Through time and space, finds some damage, doesn't find any kills. Down goes Pule, though. That's a big loss here initially on this fight. The Seismic Crash comes out, but he dodges it with his own ultimate, keeping himself alive. Rakata able to stay alive. You got to watch out, though. He has 200 health, and he gets the bubble now. He's going to be able to get out with his life. He doesn't get taken down, and Virtus.Pro committed a whole lot to that fight, and they weren't able to get him down. Rakata, hard to kill at the moment. Those claws are starting to hit. They're starting to hit hard.
Oh, God. Pule just can't get in here. The Hyperbeam shoulder bash in now with gusto. The Assert Dominance will finally land, and that is the green light to go. Virtus.Pro starting to win this fight.
They find 2 to start it off. Make that 3. Dethroner on the back end. Now it's just going to be a little bit of zoning. 42, 45, and climbing now. Pule just needs to keep Dethroner from making his way out of here. Need to find some dismounts here on the back end with 63, 66 now and climbing. You got to be careful. You'll take a dome shield. You'll take a defensive dome shield. Absolutely, 10 times out of 10. Now it's just, can we keep them from getting a touch on the point? 96, 99. Koga's going to be the one to get the touch there at the end. He's going to fall, though. Who is next? Barrick is next in line. And Fasheko's able to stay alive. He's going to dash in onto the Leon, who's able to stay alive as well, but Fasheko now drops on the back end. Virtus.Pro have to be careful. They lose too many people here. The Knights could flip it on its head and take the win themselves.
Good, and Cutie finds a big one. Time and space, the cherry on top, and just like that, the table flips. I was about ready to call this one over, but Fasheko misses the spite. Things are connecting for the Knights.
And now it's Dosups trying to get the touch. Overtime starting to tick away here. He has to get in there one last time, and he does just that, but he falls, and there's no healthy members up and able to get a touch. Next is Shaolin. Pittsburgh Knights find themselves seemingly an out-of-nowhere victory. It looked like Virtus.Pro were going to take it 4-3, but instead the Knights find some picks, find the timing, and take it. They love those waves across the aisle, don't they?
Kamehameha there, indeed. Cutie getting a critical pick with his through time and space to keep the Knights in it. Another crucial mistake is that spite that miss, and I see what he was trying to do. You can do this with shoulder bash as well. When you have those like hard straight line shots, you bounce off of corners and walls to a degree and continue to follow that path, but Payne does a good job getting tucked far enough so that angle cannot be played by Fisheko. And not to say Payne went on to win that fight. I think the real big key moment there was Cutie connecting with that time and space really out of nowhere.
Well, we got a set going here. 2-1, Pittsburgh Knights answers back. What looked like Virtus.Pro on the roll. It looked like they dusted off the cobwebs in a really great way there in game number 2, but Pittsburgh Knights answering back here in game number 3. We're going to send it back over to the desk to break down game 3 and set up game 4.
A lot that went well for both teams there. Obviously, the Knights taking it away at the end. You seemed a little flabbergasted, as I think the best word to describe it.
I was stunned that they went for that. I mean, it was such a risky play from Fisheko because you don't have the ult in reserve. I thought he was going to ult Torvald so that Torvald could get isolated away from Ricotta. Instead, he chases Koga. And at that point, it's kind of a hopeless chase because Koga's already there. He's got a dash. He's going to be able to go through and get out. And so that chase leads him away from, I think, his best spike target because Torvald out of the fight, that's Koga basically not having any of that support, man. And then to die immediately, I thought he had Billow on cooldown as well, but instead of being able to Billow and get out, he dies immediately. Then the Cutie through time and space is just icing on the cake. I think Fisheko dying and Payan being able to rotate in that fight versus Fisheko killing Payan and being able to rotate in that fight, that was the difference right there.
And one of the things I really like that Virtus.Pro did accomplish, unfortunately for them, it didn't work out the way they wanted to because of that zone, but something that was helping the Koga, that was also helping the Leon. They looked at the fact that those are symptoms. Those aren't the cause of their trouble. They are doing so much. Their damage numbers were so high, partially because the player's really good, but because they were being facilitated. And at the very end, they're going for the Torvald. They're going for the Genos. They're trying to shut that damage amp down.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for them, they weren't able to lock it down, I think, as long as they needed to. And, I mean, there were so many moments where it comes down to, like, Fisheko's playing well here, but he misses this. So it's like going back and forth and back and forth. But Koga, first time he comes through, first win, and I think you could see why.
I mean, that was fun to watch. Obviously, Koga's pretty busted in this iteration, and especially if you give him that.
If you play him today at home, he has been nerfed.
I mean, these are these are literally the best players in the world, and he's still doing that. Imagine if you have just your friends, casual friends. Obviously, the dude is getting a nerf for a reason in the upcoming patch. But right now, he's still very strong, so you have to take it into account. That's why you see such consistent Torvald bans, because this is possible when you let it through. Man, they are riding that high. There's so much emotion in North America and in the North American scene in general. It's Cutie, but it's just, Dethroner's brought that now. You see that on the side, the dejection from Vex and Dosips. This is a hard one because now you have to not place blame on Fish because you have still a whole set to play Gore, but you have to let him know that was not the play, and you guys need to tighten up.
There's a lot that is still available. Potentially seeing a Torvald man come through, but I think part of the reason that was so strong was that they grabbed Torvald Leon. They take the thing that normally deals with the Torvald as well, so banning him outright solves the problem, but the only other thing that's kind of like the Band-Aid to fix it, maybe like your flex tape to slap on the seal.
Your Rejuve tape.
Your Rejuve tape to smack onto your knee to make it fix completely better.
No, I'm kidding.
Makes it a lot easier. So I'm wondering if they go for the ban or maybe if they try to play around it for this next map.
I think the Cassie ban was fine. I actually think that whole game was fine. It was just two different styles going at each other, and it was gonna work. Like, this is what's kind of frustrating about this one. It's that in most situations, if that doesn't happen, I think VP easily take that point. I think they gave it away, which is what feels rough about it. But, this young man's going to have to grow a lot, and I think you can't blame everything on him.
Oh, no, not at all.
You just have to look at that one moment and say that could have gone better. And credit where credit is due, taking advantage of that mistake. Not always done by every team, and it definitely was done by Pittsburgh Knights. I feel that this set is going to go around 6 games. If the next one goes the way of VP, I think they might go 3 in a row. But I think if you're able to push this through, I don't know if VP are going to give up yet. I think Pittsburgh Knights are in a little bit of a rhythm, and they may be able to ride this high into the next match.
Well, this is where we start seeing things start to take effect, right? If you're playing a best of 5, you've gone to 5 games, but that normally feels long for a lot of these players, especially if you are coming from a scene maybe like Hekate Puleule, where best of 5 was really the longest you got. They've played their own fair best of 7, so they're not really the ones I'm looking at. It's just anyone who got accustomed to that, who hasn't been to these lands as often. Now you're having to recognize that you're playing a best of 7. 4 games is just the midway point. Like you finishing this 3rd game with the way that things are going, literally you are only halfway through unless the Knights just go on a tear from here on out. But with the way VP are playing, I don't quite expect that. So you're going to have to figure out, the longevity of it. Like you're looking at that. You can't be, like you said, super happy after one. Like we just won Worlds when you win map 1, but you also can't be dejected. Yeah. Pretty much exactly how you said it earlier.
I think VP are playing well enough to actually, like I said, win this set, even though I have Pittsburgh Knights winning it in my prediction. But I think there's still going to be a threat. I think if the game had gone the way of Vex and his squad, this could be over quickly. That might have just been the nail in the coffin for Pittsburgh, but they are a team of emotion. Cuss has always been that way. There's all smiles, and they're loose, and they're having a good time. Look at this difference of body posture, relaxation, communication when they win versus the game they just lost. It's night and day. It's Pittsburgh night and day. And glad to see Vasheko kind of, trying to laugh it off. I think they still feel confident that they can keep this a set.
And, we were talking about it before, and even Vex mentioned it on Wednesday during Esports Weekly. I think that's kind of Hekate and Puleule. And you mentioned it after that last, they not only keep talking, but I feel like they have that joking matter where it's just like, oh man, we lost. It happens. You can't win every single game. And so learning that mentality, and I feel like it's always very difficult. Everyone here is so competitive. Taking a loss is one of the hardest things I think you can do. But if you can take it like that and you can just go, you know what? That kind of sucks, but that game's over. Put it in the past. We're going into another one.
Yeah, true character is not shown in times of peace. It's shown in times of adversity, right? When you have things actually coming at you that are difficult, that's where you test the true mettle of a person and you see what they're really made of. That's where the stuff comes out. And, I think Virtus.Pro and Pittsburgh Knights, the perfect 2 teams to go up against each other on their debut week. And I think the perfect personalities to kind of go back and forth and to help each other grow through this process. I think when you look at the overall 13 weeks of the PPL, this is going to be a small sliver, you know what I mean? Just like Earth is a small little blip in the universe we were talking about earlier today. So this isn't really your season, but this is a growing point. And if you appreciate it, this could be something that takes you forward and launches you forward, or it could be something that holds you back and starts the underlying tension that can sometimes disrupt a team towards the end of their championship run.
Well, I'm going to actually reel it back just a little bit, because one of the things we did have earlier, and I actually really liked this, was a kind of picture-in-picture. We got to see Vex on one side, Cuss on the other side, both the supports that were coming through. And again, if you were watching Esports Weekly this past Wednesday at 1 p.m., by the way, you can always tune in on that. Hashtag plug. Either way, you can always come through. And one of the things that Vex had mentioned was that when G2 picked him up to take over support, he was like, I learned how to play support from Cuss. He watched Cuss learn, and that's how he got to where he was. And so growing under G2, where Cuss was still kind of that mentor, was very big for him. And now, again, kind of being head-to-head against him, that makes kind of a different perspective for you.
And you know what? It's a great point. And my comment is that, sometimes you look at your parents and you see the things that they do well, but you also see the things they don't do well. And you can learn from that as a kid. And I think at the end of the day, when you start to look at someone who's literally been there, done that, Cuss has been here since the very beginning tournament that's ever happened in Paladins. Maybe he's at that level where he's kind of like, hit it. He's going to be the same player. I don't know if he's hitting these crazy new strides. I hope he does. But Vex might be able to improve upon that. I think he's widely considered one of, if not the best support in all of North America, maybe all of the PPL.
Well, improvement is always the goal for these players. We have a ton of teams that are always fighting to get better, even ones that have just won their own world championship. And speaking of which, being able to go to a world championship is something all of them set their eyes on. And the only place to do that is actually at Hi-Rez Expo, which we do actually have tickets, I believe, on sale for now. We're going to be able to take a quick look at what you can expect from Hi-Rez Expo. Tickets on sale now. You can go. I've always had a blast, and that's even before I was actually an employee and able to work at the event. I was going.
You work
I
here?
actually got a thing. Well, supposedly.
Whoa, I thought this was just volunteer work.
Oh,
Okay, wow.
I guess we'll have to.
I've been breaking all kind of employee guidelines here. I didn't know I had to treat you like I treat everybody else.
Well, we have one of the things
So
that's
sorry.
been interesting. I actually got this reminder. You know how Facebook always brings up those things like from 5 years ago today, and I can't remember if it was yesterday morning or today.
Okay.
But I got a picture I had taken on day 2 of the Smite launch tournament.
Is that so?
And that was one of those ones where I was just like, that was the first esports tournament I'd ever gone to. It's the
Wow.
first time I'd really gone to an in-person event. I'd been watching online for a while, but it was really interesting, especially because now knowing that there were people who are working here with me, coworkers,
Yes.
that either were working the event or went
Yeah.
to view the event as a fan, and we had no idea that the other existed at the point.
Well, it's pretty interesting. It's want to give a farewell to one of our great admins, Rude. He's embarking on some new journeys. He has just put out his twit longer, and his last day is today. So if you know High Res Rude, he's no longer High Res, but he is still Rude. And you can follow along with him on Twitter. But there's a lot of people that you find in different stages of their journeys throughout this whole thing. And it's really marvelous when you see it all come together. You meet some people in the middle, you meet some people at the beginning, meet some people at the end. But it's all one big journey, and it's a lot of fun.
Your life's like a book.
No, it's not.
And you're making chapters as you go along. Okay.
No, I just
The whole. I'm sticking with my analogy, whether you agree with me or not.
It is like a book.
I
You're
think
right.
it's pretty good. And
But
I
is
also
it like
think
an epic fantasy, or is it like a nonfiction?
it depends on where you want it to be. I mean, if you're going out and fighting dragons, that's pretty dope.
I'm doing that. That's what I
There
do.
you go. You're in the epic fantasy.
There you go.
Rain Day After Hours. Slaying dragons with the
Slaying
fire
dragons.
sword of Eldrasil.
And that sounds like something I'd do, and a place I'd be. Your Grimmar, something like that. Slaying dragons and old men, of the fantasy variety.
Yeah.
Not in real life.
No, definitely never in real life. And you know what? Virtus.Pro in real life are saying, why ban Torvald?
When
If we
you
could just
pick 'em.
take Torvald.
Yeah. It's like, why not eat Taco Bell when you could
Just eat Taco Bell.
I'm just kidding. That doesn't quite work out, but you know what I'm saying.
Why? Why?
Why?
Just why?
Was that Shakespeare? I think that
Probably.
was.
It
Henry
might have
V,
been.
right?
You
I'm
win
sure
or
there's
you
definitely
die.
somewhere
There
you can
is no
quote from
middle
Shakespeare
ground.
where he says, why?
Yeah.
There might be a little more
not
before,
welcome
maybe a little
here.
more afterward.
Might have been Macbeth,
But there's definitely
that's
in
definitely
there.
Shakespeare. Yeah.
One of my favorite shirts actually has like a very descriptive, like this play, this chapter, this line, this word quote from Shakespeare, and it's just no.
Oh, I love it. I kind of could see that coming as you were describing it, but that's a very funny shirt.
I
Great
I
idea.
enjoyed
Gods
this.
are watching.
Great
But
idea.
hey, we've
is
got the Torvald
rushing,
Leon again
and the
on one
hunt
side and Nara being
is
picked up.
on.
Do we see the Genos with it? The VP will have to show that. But Khan, Bomb King, while Damba and Tyra here for Jaguar Falls. Bomb King and Tyra, this is a good map for them.
I mean, yeah, no, it's a great map.
I mean,
Khan too. I don't know. Yeah, no, they got a lot of great opportunities here to self-heal. Lifesteal on Tyra added into Season 2, so that's obviously a big benefit for her. Khan can keep Bomb King healthy, which is something that he doesn't really need help with. He's a thick boy already, but he's got that extra power healing from the Battle Shout. And he's got the extra power from just the Tyra's Hunter's Mark. This is one of the most dangerous compositions we've seen today. And the first time we're going to see Furia. So it's really all in on the damage amp. This set has shifted dramatically in the priorities of what these two teams are after.
and Furia has been very much in that area in my mind where it's just like, why is no one playing her? Like, we've seen her a lot in the PML and the PCL.
I guess you're
We
right.
see her a lot with Inara, and nobody had picked her up yesterday. Nobody had picked her up today until just now. So she's going to be locked in. Remember, that's a lot of healing per second if you're in that beam.
It's kind of all in because if you miss the Solar Blessing, you really lose out on much better healing per second that Saris would have provided.
True.
But hey, you're already running Torvald Zen, and why not be more all in than that?
And then they finalize it on the Knights with a Ruckus. So out of the two drafts, Virtus.Pro, you said, is a little more all in, but Do you feel like they have a good map, or is this going to go towards the Knights?
I mean, I actually think Pittsburgh Knights have as equally deadly opportunities to
Yeah.
succeed as Virtus.Pro. It's really going to be about how effective Leon can be. This isn't a matchup that naturally favors her, though. Although the Ruckus is a decent match, the Torvald is probably going to be the most precarious spot here because Tyra and Firebomb, he's got to walk out of it. Grumpy Bomb, he's got to walk out of it. Everything. He's got to walk out of everything.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do when you have so many threats from so many different angles. Pittsburgh Knights play their lineup perfectly. They should have some success.
Not the most mobile front lines on the side of VP, so a lot of work that is going to have to cut them out, especially with potentially a cripple coming down from the other side. Those firebombs are going to be deadly, but it is Jaguar Falls, and there's no one better to take us through it than Dave and Nick.
Get the congas.
I am. Are we the best ones to take them through it? I think that's what that means.
The best.
Oh, I thought you were going. I immediately lost my train of thought. Take it away. Oh no, you're the best. All right, that's where I was going with it.
Nothing's gonna ever keep me down. There's a lot of nice little songs to go to the tune of the best.
The best.
And Jaguar Falls.
Jaguar Falls. Furia, though, making our way through for the first time in the PPL. We're getting gifted with some first-time champion plays here today. I don't know why she's not been played very much. Fasheko trying to get in the face of the Knights here right now. Going to back himself off before he takes too much damage. They're stacking up right now. You got to be careful if you're on the side of the Knights not to take way too much damage here.
Just chasing down Grandpa. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? And now Vex finds himself in harm's way. Quickly answer back 2-for-2 trade when it's all said and done.
Hecate, G-Bunny, double kills going on
Great
either
wall.
side right now. Nice wall there from the Inara, keeping them a bit shielded off. But wait, 96% for Virtus.Pro here. I didn't even realize that happened so fast. The entire time the Knights were doing a little do-si-do, Virtus.Pro was sitting on the point, and they found themselves one
Nice
touch away
spite.
from capturing it.
Wow.
Spite keeps Fasheko alive and
That
finds him
worked
a
out
kill
a lot
even.
better than I thought it was going to work out. And now he's got good pressure on the Tyra here, swinging for the fences. Looks like he's actually running guillotine there. I don't believe that was a Yomi strike. He only hit for 700 there, so I think this might actually be a little guillotine action for the boy.
Looks like it might
Yeah,
be.
it is.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, guillotine. Well, guillotine, so no Yomi strikes. That's not an often thing. Not the thing we see often, I should say, on the side of the Zen. But look, they're dropping right now. Both sides each losing one. 99% still for Virtus.Pro. You have to be careful
Nice
on the
deal.
side of the Knights. Too many losses here could spell a victory. Did he die? Oh, he died out of his King Bomb. Fasheko cleans him up before he's able to get it off, and now he's turned his sights onto Ricotta, and he finds him as well. Virtus.Pro going to pick up right where they left off, find themselves a kill here onto the Ruckus, find themselves point number 1 on Jaguar Falls. The Knights did a good job of answering back. They had 96% by the time all was done there, but Virtus.Pro on the board first.
And so this isn't the normal style of Xin, right? But one thing that this does have going for it is, well, first of all that, but getting a ton of healing can survive you through that. He's going to be much safer doing it because you're damage immune. You charge this ultimate faster, and though you don't get as much poke out with Yomi, Torvald naturally allows you to have more uptime in these fights to get your ultimate charged more often, and by proxy kind of do more damage anyway.
By proxy, unfortunately dying anyway.
Oh, clean
Ricotta,
copy.
clean. Very clean. G-Bunny finds 2. Cuskcutie finds 1. Ricotta finds 1 as well. And seemingly in the blink of an eye, 4 drop on the side of Virtus.Pro. So Pittsburgh Knights find themselves on a good defensive stand here. Zoning out the Hexafire very deep in the base of Virtus.Pro and finding lots of damage, finding a kill even onto Hecate. Boule cleaned up on the backside. Most of the damage done there by the Ruckus. And now Payne and Ricotta are going to town on the lineup of Virtus.Pro, and they're not giving them a moment to breathe. That was a clean sweep, followed by a clean sweep, and now they're even further in the base of Virtus.Pro.
The Knights are just practicing their offense for next round.
Right.
Now they're like, all right, so we're going to push them here, then we're going to take this team fire, come roaring in, and that was a really good Hexafire to start it all off. He got basically every single bullet out into the field and landed. Dosups just walks down Ricotta, but he's going to lose his life for it. And you have to just keep reminding yourself that this is indeed the defense pushing the offense all the way back into their spawn.
Easy to get confused for sure. Definitely happened to me at least once yesterday. Virtus.Pro finding their footing a little bit here back in their base. Hecate with a couple unofficial triple there for him, getting themselves finally pushed out. They don't really have any ultimates to play with. They have the Seismic Crash. They have the Fury ultimate as well. Pittsburgh Knights have 4 to play with, soon to be 5. That Ruckus ultimate almost back up. Enough kills and eliminations on the first one, and then on the following fight to get him back up. Yeah, 9-4-2. Neither team looking really bad at the moment. I know the Pittsburgh Knights had them pushed back into their base, but Virtus.Pro doing a good job as well of keeping themselves in this one. The shields seemingly going on Fasheko for most of this fight here. Pule does drop, so no more shields for that Xin. 5 seconds left, 50% of the way to go. Looks like the Knights are going to be able to put down the flag and find themselves defense number 1.
And part of it is that it's Jaguar Falls versus Frozen Guard, but the Knights right now are doing a much better job at getting on Grandpa, right? Forcing him into an uncomfortable spot, walking him down to the back line. Vex died just because he came and tried to help. If Hakate doesn't get that double kill, this is a much uglier team fight. Puleole thankfully was on that point the entire time. Really good wall. Gets them into a spot where they almost win the point outright before the Knights can even say anything about it.
That the defense there really just stems off of the aggressiveness from the Knights spanning from that point fight. I mean, they lost the point, but then immediately went into Virtus.Pro's base, popped all of their ultimates, won that fight, and then zoned them out again before finally getting pushed out. And by the time Virtus.Pro was really able to get their footing back in, it was too late, and the payload stopped short of even that first choke point.
Brazilian's starting to come through, and Ricotta's actually going straight in a bulldozer, so he wants to be able to go through not only these Warders fields, but these Inara walls that are killing him. Dosubs dies extremely quickly on the objective, and that was because of the overpower there. We didn't quite hear it because it was so far away, but 4%. I think I know which way that went.
The way of the side of the map. Oh, there goes the ultimate. The Hexafire right into Fasheko, dashed right in front of it. That's a bit unfortunate. Pittsburgh Knights finding the ultimates, finding the impact right now that they're looking for. Here comes the seismic crash. Here comes the enlightenment. Bomb King getting a lot invested on him right now. Finally, Hikate getting feared back into the waiting arms of G-Bunny. Virtus.Pro trying to hold on here, but some unfortunate ultimates, some unfortunate interactions going the way of Pittsburgh Knights, and at 90%, they're very close to taking this one, but Virtus.Pro, they're turning it on its head right now. Fasheko trying to hit his shots, gets himself shielded, gets himself out, nearly getting the worst end of the fight there. Here comes the King Bomb, though.
Ooh, perfect.
Ooh, nice. Reverses it back onto the Bomb King. Great job. Payan goes down for his troubles.
We got to hit those, baby. We got to hit those damn guillotine ultimates. I mean, why pick talent here if we can't find a home for any of these? I'm surprised that Virtus.Pro have bounced back up until this point, though. Really good job to be able to stay alive after a couple of blunders early on.
Yeah, 93% the Knights got up to, but Virtus.Pro find the kills, finding the percentage, find point number 2 here on Jaguar Falls after what seemingly was a clean Pittsburgh Knights start, a Pittsburgh Knights second point here. Virtus.Pro flips it on its head, finds themselves some wins, finds themselves their second point.
So it's funny how that butterfly effect sort of pays out. There's a missed commander's grab onto Fasheko, allows him to not only get that kill, but rotate out Liv, and then walk and counter out a King Bomb entirely. He just face tanked it with counter up. It's a beautiful, beautiful play there. Misses, I don't know why he was so aggressive in going for that spite to get back in there. I think obviously that's a small optimization he can make of actually landing his ultimate for a change. Despite picking it up, there hasn't really been too many that have actually impacted a fight, and that's something that definitely needs to change.
Ricotta and Payan changing their play up a little bit, finding a couple kills here for the Knights. And this is exactly what we saw last game. They found a few picks and then transformed that into a full court press on Virtus.Pro. Not quite as far back as they were last time, but fighting way behind the payload. The Hexafire is going to get cut a little bit short by the Enlightenment, not having the impact that G-Bunny was probably looking for there. Bomb King nearly taking out Leon on the backside, but neither of them are going to die. The Spite finally finds its home. Hikate with a little bit of clay shooting action there on the Poppy bombing Payan. Virtus.Pro sealing those wounds, getting back on the payload, and getting it moving with a minute left.
That's a clean enough fight where the Knights will be able to get their feet back under them, but they do spend the Dread Serpent and the Hexafire, it looks like. That's one thing I'm worried about for Fasheko is that the Battle Shout for 1, King Bomb for 2, Hexafire for 3 are all 3 quick snap CC immunity ultimates that with the long windup of Spite, if they're not careful, they could get caught, or Fasheko could get caught out in a really, really awkward spot where he doesn't actually connect. And that, honestly, may have been what happened with that quote-unquote missed ultimate on a Ruckus. Because he did pop his Hexafire, so he may have just reacted fast enough to where Fasheko couldn't have connected with that target even if he wanted to.
God, the Knights have to be one of the more annoying defenses to play against on Jaguar Falls. I mean, they find one kill and immediately push you essentially back into their base. This is where Virtus.Pro stalled out last time.
I mean, you said it's the full court press.
Full court press coming in here on Virtus.Pro. 15 seconds left. They got to find themselves probably 2 team fight wins here in order to get this one pushed through. A G-Bunny kill onto the healers, not the way you want to start it off. Ricotta turning it back around on a Fasheko, not having the best game for himself so far. Hunter's mark on Hecate equals 1 dead Leon. And that equals a second point here for the Knights. 4 of them streaking out right now. 4 ultimates available as well.
Ricotta's done a really, really good job at playing what his team needs. I mean, at this point, we're Cassie, we're Koga, and now he's over to Tyra as well, which has definitely been a little bit of a sleeper pick, it would appear.
Pull.
Clean stuff there,
Nice.
and the electric slide. He would have died there,
Yeah,
I
close.
think, if he didn't hit that slide as quick as he did there. Good stuff, though, from the Knights. I'm not sure how I can call this one. I mean, so far it's been Virtus.Pro in control of the points.
Right.
But if this bulldozer comes online to level 3, Ricotta will be able to go through these walls, and he does have it online. Level 3 bulldozer. So Tyra, if left unchecked, will not be able to be walled off, especially during her ultimate. She is going to chainsaw right through these rocks like they're nothing.
Lots of breakers on the side of Virtus.Pro. Working through some of
There
those
goes.
shields. There's an early crossfire onto Fasheko, who cleans up Dethroner right before nearly taking out Ricotta. So very close there from being a bit of a blunder. Very close from a double kill for Fasheko. G-Bunny, the next one in the line of sight. He falls as well. Oh, nice enlightenment. Nearly finds Ricotta on the backside pan. Cleans up Hecate and Pule. And it looks like the Pittsburgh Knights are in the driver's seat yet again here on the point. But Virtus.Pro has some strength. They have the attack coming in from the offside here. 3 members. The healing comes through, but it's not enough. Dosips drops as well. 42% now for the Knights on the point.
And a great grab there from Dethroner just to keep the momentum going. Puleule dies quickly. I will say the Solar Blessing Furia seems like it's missing more often than not. On some of these solar beams, they need to kind of get there a little bit sooner. And I think that's an adjustment Vex can recognize and make. Overpower looks like it misses there. The wall's going to be good. I don't know what happened there, but Torvald's life has been saved.
The Spite does find G-Bunny, so that doesn't miss. There's the battle shout,
Nice
keeping
catch.
himself alive right now. 48, 51% now on the point, but 90% is what you got to look at for the Knights. The fight's going on the backside. Unfortunately, Fasheko drops in the wall, keeping them off the point right now, 96%. This fight is so back and forth. Overtime ticking away in favor of the Knights. Inara gets stunned up. Inara gets taken out. Payan finds one. Ricotta finds himself flying off the map thanks to a Hyper Beam. But the Pittsburgh Knights actually win themselves an offensive point here. Now Virtus.Pro gets to try their hand at defending.
So a great moment there from Dethroner that I already talked about, but the King Bomb from Payan earlier on than that found the double kill is huge, as well as Ricotta beats Fasheko in those 1v1 situations twice in a row. Fish got a little bit aggressive in the first one there, and I think that's what Ricotta used to his advantage. The second one there was just straight up Ricotta kind of beat him. He had the DPS. Zin is not an overly high DPS character. He banks on very easy to hit auto attacks, and the fact that he has great utility to get himself in and out of fights, buzzing around until the moment is right.
Heal me up, says Fasheko, and healing he
Mr.
gets. Here
Gorbachev,
goes.
tear down this
The
wall.
wall falls, but the seismic crash comes out, and 2 kills for Virtus.Pro to start off this fight, make it 3. Khan is the last one standing here. Dethroner is going to fall. The lowly Damba shooting out his snakes in the back of the lineup is going to keep himself alive, but Fasheko is going to clean him up. He's not. The wall actually blocks off the final auto attack, so the Damba keeps himself alive. Good for you. But now the full court press is coming out on the other side. Virtus.Pro are getting into the base of the Knights, not wanting to give them an inch.
Yeah, throw the firebomb down, 96 HP, and by an inch, Fasheko and Puleule manage to stay alive here into the billow. Fasheko is he's playing on a razor's edge right now. Whether he lives or dies in these engagements could be an absolute coin flip.
Absolute coin flip. In the moment, that flip is coming up in favor of the Knights. Well, not really. They win the fight, but they're still back in their base with 45 seconds left. Leon proving to be a thorn in the side, keeping him zoned out of their base right now. Leon looking to be the first one who falls, so Pittsburgh Knights find themselves a little bit of space, find themselves a few kills, but still with 35 seconds left, how far can you go?
Ooh, and Ricotta's nice little rotation. He's already going to be there. He says, I don't want to go through this wall this time. I'm going to go around it just to show you that I can. And those little legs for Tyro, unfortunately, have to do it all. No mobility options for the hunting party, Tyro. A couple ultimates here brewing for the Knights. They could look to put themselves up 3-1 if they can close out this point.
Looking for it. A quick team fight win could spell the end for this map for Virtus.Pro.
Get out of that beam.
Fight starting to break out right now. Lots of damage going in onto the Inara. The Ruckus and the Bomb King going to be the ones to deal with it. You got to watch out. That's some bursty damage coming in there from the Leon. The healing going to keep them alive at the moment. Payan's going solo, standing in that field. Finally drops on the backside. Doe comes in, cleans up Payan, says, stop hitting me with your bombs. Pretty please. Ruckus coming in as well, finally dropping on the backside. Pule, Hecate, all of Virtus.Pro firing.
Nice.
Equals a defense. We're going to a point number 7.
And that's a Dread Serpent used, nothing used by Virtus.Pro. Great stuff there. Pule looking for the cheeky Hyper Beam. Looks like it got stunned out initially. Did get Rukata. Cuss was able to slither it, so he doesn't have to take that death this time around. Dosups does a great job on Inara there, dancing on a razor's edge, making sure he catches the beam, and he can actually continue to fight. Good job walking down a couple of targets in the backline. Overall, Virtus.Pro are in a position to win this game. They have all their ultimates available, and Cuss Cutie is missing the Dread Serpent. I want to take a look at the items real quick before we get into this one. Things like Resilience is what I'm looking for, and I'm seeing it in spades,
right.
except for not on Fasheko. He's got too many tools to avoid King Bombs and Dread Serpents and things like that to really be too worried about it.
A couple Resiliences on the right side as well. That's Cutie with a nice full yellow build on the Damba.
I think this is Fish. I think he's got to find a good ultimate this time. His ultimates have not been great this game, but this is his moment. He has seen every way it can go wrong. It's time to find a way for this ultimate to go right. Isolated
for the
Ruckus.
right target. Sees the Ruckus, doesn't find the Ruckus though. Dethroner utilizing that overpower, instead using the Spite onto Rakata, so he does find a target, he does find a kill. Here's the Hexafire as well. Is it going to find some damage? He does find a kill, but he does drop on the backside as well. And now Bomb King is the one getting aggressive here, but a little too aggressive. He trades out his life for one, but what matters is the Knights are the ones who are staying on the point right now. 33%. Virtus.Pro found themselves some as well. The Hyper Beam blasting the Damba out and away.
Safety.
Pule drops. Doe cleans up one as well. The fight is kind of coming to a head here. Healing comes in as well.
That's
the fight
clutch.
continues on as I say that, and Dethroner holding up his shield, trying to keep himself alive. He's going to end up falling on the backside, though. Is he, though? 400 health. He finally drops at the hands of Fasheko, but Payan, he comes back up. Double kill here for Fasheko. Payan finding two as well. Neither team coming out ahead right now.
That's great stuff there from Fasheko. Finally finds one of the hotter ultimates of this game. Final blow on a Payan as well. Counter is up, and he's playing it safe. Back into the billow, but this fight is far from over. 69% to 51. Stabilization here for Virtus.Pro. Pittsburgh Knights are about to get the Dread Serpent. Is it going to be enough?
And here it is. The only ultimate available is the Dread Serpent, but it doesn't matter when Rakata does the one-on-one against Fasheko. That Drazin, that's down. That's an offensive pressure, and that's not good. Next is Pule. Pittsburgh Knights have retaken the point here, and Nara's going to be the next to fall. They staggered these kills enough. The Pittsburgh Knights could end up taking this one, and it's 71, 81% now and climbing. It looks like they could do just that.
Where's Dosups? Is he going to be there in time? Fish is going to get there, 99%. He'll get his touch, but there's no ultimates. There's nothing for Virtus.Pro, and Dosups will crumble first in this fight. It's going to take a miracle at this point.
Down goes Doe. Down goes
Come on,
Fasheko.
Vex.
Down goes
It's time.
Hecate.
Easy.
Send in the beam. He's not even going to try. Pittsburgh Knights find the proper kills. They find it at the proper time. Most importantly, they find win number 3 here in this set. Bit of a bummer on the faces of Virtus.Pro, obviously wanting to win that one. Going down 3-1 is a tough way to start off your PPL split.
And that's tough because that is, it's really not even a bad fight from Virtus.Pro there. They just got some great ultimates. And it wasn't even, again, that Dread Serpent comes up, but in my opinion, was not very critical. That it was almost entirely overlapped with Fasheko was already dead. He was in that small room with 4 people, no cooldowns available. That was a really heavy overkill to use on just Fasheko, and they still got it done.
Coming out on top are the Knights, going up 3-1 in this series. Got to get to 4 to win, but to break down game number 4, let's send it back to the desk.
So far, things have been going a little rocky for Virtus.Pro. They've been looking pretty good, but not able to close out these last games, losing 4-3 2 times in a row. So, Evan, I pose this question. I mean, what goes wrong there at the end? They seemed like they were in control.
You know, and I say this with all respect towards Virtus.Pro as a roster, but right now you're not getting what you need to get as far as your decision making from your damage dealers, and specifically Fisheko, who is getting in on the Zen but going in too far. This is really the key, in my opinion, why they lost. There was one thing that did well: 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And when you give up these kills because you maybe are feeling confident and you get over aggressive, it can end up baiting your entire team, and they just did not have the ability to 4v5 on that map. Pittsburgh Knights, though, they had a dangerous comp, like we said before. G-Bunny was fantastic on the Ruckus.
24 and 14.
You could tell that he did the right thing. I mean, there's just too many deaths across the board for everyone on the side of Virtus.Pro, and you could tell Cuss, Dethroner, I mean, great games from them. Dethroner was like baiting out Fisheko's guillotine every chance he got.
And that was one of those moments you could see it, but it was, in fact, G-Bunny. A lot of killing blows and a lot of pressure from him, the 2.2 KDA. I think it was 24, 14, and 14. And it's just good presence, good flank mentality, being able to come through. This is actually something we were talking about a little earlier with Zerini on this as well, where it's just like you have to look at this Ruckus play and recognize that this is how Ruckus is played. Like, he is not a frontline, I'm going to stand on the point. He's not a frontline, I'm going to stand beside you. It's a, I'm just going to go where the kills are, and I'm going to find them.
I mean, and I thought this was actually a really bad talent pick, to be honest. I think Yomi would have been so much better, not only in winning the duels with Ricotta, but just poking. You had no burst to win that 1v1, and he lost multiple times on the side of Zen versus Tyra. And if you have the 850 Yomi burst, what you can do is you can essentially hide behind a corner, know she's there, peek out, 850, now she's half health. Now you can actually win with 1-2 swipes and then also go into your whirl right after that. So there's a lot that could have gone better. We obviously know that. But the other point that I had made earlier that I want to continue harping on is that momentum has now been with Pittsburgh. They're a team that loves momentum. They won that game beforehand a little closely, then they win this game, and now I feel like this set, although Virtus.Pro aren't out for it, I think they'll grab one more. I think this set is now shifted to be Pittsburgh Knights almost guaranteed. And
it's just one of those areas, especially when you look at the score. They're 1 point away. They just need the one more map. Virtus.Pro, I don't know if I can call them momentum-based yet or not, but they're definitely in that area where they're losing too much. And like you said, when the Knights get rolling, they're just going to keep rolling. They're feeling themselves. They know exactly the scenarios. And the thing about comms like that, whenever you have a team like this, you will be listening to them. And when you finally hear them, like when they're in a good mood, when they're on top of the world, all of a sudden everything's clear, concise, they're making jokes, they're relaxed. Like, that demeanor goes from out of game into game, and that means so much. I think that's part of why we see teams like Envy find success.
I always love making basketball analogies, and so I'm going to make one here. It's called a 4-point swing. When you miss an easy layup like they did on Frozen Guard that should have been the win, the spike goes wrong. Now, that team not only takes the ball back away from you, you don't get 2 points, they score a layup on the transition because you missed it, everyone thought you'd make it, and now instead of you being tied, they're 4 points ahead of you. That's the big swing right there. Not only when you don't get your points, they take it and push their lead a little further. And that's the big key that I think has happened in this set. Virtus.Pro have let go of opportunities to put this in their favor, and now Pittsburgh Knights are very far ahead.
But I'll say I think it's impressive, honestly, when they have like as many moments of that has happened. Yeah. Right? There's been several times where it's like, man, if that all hits, then this is your fight and you win.
Oh, totally.
Or, man, that completely whiffed and now you've lost this fight. Things like that where that happened on every map, essentially, that's gone 4-3. Even the ones they won, there were some moments where it's like, maybe you're going too far. Like, maybe you're feeling yourself too much, but they had a little bit bigger of a safety net when it was on Ice Mines. When they went to Frozen Guard, the safety net was still there, but it's a lot smaller. They don't catch as many things. If a spike goes through, it's a little bit too fast. It flies through the net and puts you into a bad position. And I feel like that Zen has been the connecting factor, even though it wasn't all on Fisheko.
Yeah. I would definitely equate it to something where, you know, you feel like you've put a deadline on yourself, whether it's to be a certain weight by a certain time, whether it's to get your homework in by a certain time, whether it's to, you know, things like I'll do. I'll say, oh, I got to get a video out today, even though I've just worked, 12 hours or something like that. All of those things can cause a lot of stress in the process leading up to it and make you not relaxed, not having fun, not doing the great content or whatever it is that you usually want. I feel like that's what's happened with Virtus.Pro, where they have this high expectation that they've got to win today. Like, they want to be the squad they know they can be, right now. And the problem is they're rushing things. They're getting overly aggressive. Patience, in my opinion, is the #1 thing they need to add to their game plan in order to be successful here. And they're definitely going to need it if they're going to take 3 games in a row over the Pittsburgh Knights right now.
Well, they definitely don't seem to be feeling too dejected, or at least Hekate isn't, as he just
Vamos!
did hit them another dab as well. So, I mean, feeling confident, at least in his ability. And I feel like that's a good thing about the team. And that's something to take away. This is very remarkable. If the Knights win here, and this is 4-1, it should be completely noted that this has been a very close 4-1, if that's the case. But we're going to Shattered Desert. Is that what you're saying, for?
No, I'm saying because they were real happy with that first pick Ashe showing up on their screens. I'm not sure VP are prepared for the Knights. I feel like G Bunny is getting exactly what he wants. So this might not be a long game. We'll see how this draft unfolds, though.
Well, I'm going to say Shattered Desert is still a map some teams are potentially learning here. And one of the things about it is that the push just feels awkward. The point fight doesn't feel awkward, but it's taking that approach. The push specifically, there's never a point where you have like a wall behind you and you can see everything. Like there's always another avenue for them to come at you from. And I think that's where we're going to have to see this Ashe, this Ruckus, this Moldamba from VP have a little bit more strength, maybe a little bit more poise ready to knock around those people who are going to try to bully their DPS.
I like convergence on this map. I think Sarah's actually pretty good on this map. I think this is the key, though. They wanted this as their aggressive tank, the Khan, and they got it. So now the Inari here, super solid. Shaolin is going out on a limb again, but it can work. The Zen right back to it. Either Virtus.Pro trusted so much, or they don't have a lot else prepared. I hope it's not guillotine again, because you have several different things that give you immunity to it.
I'm just having to think that so far it's been not the problem. It's been very hit or miss, which has very much determined whether or not they win or lose.
Yeah, right.
So going back to it, feeling confident in it, being able to recognize, you know what, Fish, like, yeah, it didn't work out. Yeah, it didn't work out. We still trust you. You want the Zen, then we'll get you the Zen. This is what fits in this draft. We need it to work. The thing that I'm still on the fence of is this Shaolin. We've seen a couple of teams make it work, but Hekate earlier didn't look too clean on it.
And to your credit, it could easily work with Yomi. I mean, it just may be the guillotine switch up, right? Like, just going Yomi, it could be a ton of burst, and that could be enough to win these 1v1s. The Tyra could honestly melt if he does it the right way. So I'm excited to see this one, but it is on the precipice of Pittsburgh Knights taking the set, Gore.
Well, will he do it the right way? Shattered Desert has the answer. You can see the map. The barriers on the side. And, of course, the casters are hidden somewhere in there. I think maybe under the sand. We'll go to Nick and Dave and see if we can hear them.
I'm actually flying way above the map. I have the hyper jump power-up available to me here on Shattered Desert.
My head is always in the sand, firmly buried.
You are an ostrich. You bury your head in
That's right. They do that. That's weird as hell,
They do that.
That's some weird stuff. Little Vortex script there for G Bunny. He's really the only one looking to branch out from what is not a guaranteed talent selection. I will say, variety in the champions, but pretty much everyone is one talent these days.
Right. Which was interesting, seeing not Yomi on Fasheko.
Dethroner here with some high-level gameplay.
In the last game, Dethroner finding his throne there on the point, getting up some percentage here for the Pittsburgh Knights, and all the kills starting to come up red. Fasheko answering back with one of his own, able to stop the bleeding just a little bit, but Dethroner right back to the point. You got to be careful, Virtus.Pro. You fight too much off to the side here, you lose too many kills. This 72 is going to turn into 100 before you know it.
G-Bunny happy to get Khan, and so far we see Y controlling that team fight very, very nicely, 99-0. A fun little note here, the overtime is going to start for Pule, Ule, and the boys, and nothing much more comes of it. Now it's Ruckus's turn to dive in there, the sacrificial lamb, as you do, my dude. And in between these sets, when these guys have the bathroom breaks, I also partake sometimes. So I was in there, doing my business, and a couple guys from the Knights, a couple guys from VP in there, and Riccardo says, "Hey, Cuss, what map do you think they're going to pick next?" And Cuss goes, probably Shattered Desert, because we looked terrible there yesterday. But it's a trap card, because now we know what we're doing. Now we're nuts in this spot. And sure enough, here we are, and sure enough, the Pittsburgh Knights are up 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, in a weird way, getting crushed on Shattered Desert yesterday was the most PPL experience either of these two teams playing on it right now has had. So
they go, oh, that's how it's done. Okay.
That's how it works. Well, they've found their stride early on here. The Inara, Ceres both streaking out. Payload moving forward here, 1 minute and 45 seconds left. Virtus.Pro need to find an answer to this offensive power. Could be Fasheko cleaning up some low health targets, finds one of them. Cutie the next to fall at the hands of Fasheko, but G-Bunny looking to avenge his friends, heaves him over his head, cleans him up on the backside, sprays on the ground a little bit, cleans up the bleeding a little bit on their side. So Virtus.Pro, at least at the moment, stalling things out. There's still 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Plenty of time. Not a long distance to go here on Shattered Desert for the Knights.
Great synergy there for Ricotta as well. He's got the Dragon's Bane, something like that. Dragon something or another. I wonder how her Dragon mount feels about, the fact that she might be wearing a brother or sister into battle there.
I'd like to think that dragons are smart enough to recognize that it's metal and potentially not real. Although it's spitting out fire, so can't really comment on it. Could be a real dragon. We do know is real is the Hexafire finding some damage. Ricotta finding some kill with the dragon firearm of her own. His own, I guess. Tyra's own is a she. Hecate answers back with a kill. Ricotta trying to clean up the ruckus on the backside, not able to do so. He might fall on his own anyway, and he does. All kills coming up blue right now for Virtus.Pro, and if this lasts long enough, Pittsburgh Knights might not have enough time to get back into it.
Poor Ash chunking her way 200 damage at a time through Dethroner's HP. Finally, he will fall down. 18 seconds on the clock. The Knights, I don't really know. They could probably get back there in time, but it is going to have to take a straight W key from G-Bunny to get there. And he's been slowed down just a little bit here. Might be able to get around this corner if Commander's Grab is available. Dethroner's on his horse as well, but he'll get dismounted. And Survey says overtime indeed.
So they do end up getting the touch here. This will be the final team fight on this map. Nice convergence, pulls in too. Cust ends up getting cleaned up as well as Vex. So 1 for 1 at the moment. 2 healers are down the wall, keeps him off. The payload's moving forward at the moment. You got to be careful if you can't get back there and get a touch. Ruckus finally gets back and defends it on his own, but Hecate drops Ricotta. Next to fall is Dosip's on the Ruckus as well as G-Bunny on the con, so kills are just going back and forth right now. But Virtus.Pro finds the win, finds just those picks that they needed, end up getting a successful defense there. So we're tied up 1-1 on Shattered Desert.
Very, very well orchestrated by both teams. Frankly surprised that Virtus.Pro is able to stabilize that. Fish has looked good so far, as well as Hecate. I think Hecate, for me on Frozen Guard, he played the Shaolin once before today, but it was kind of quiet. And obviously that's a very loud game, right? That game was all about the Torvald Koga, so it's hard to watch anything else. But Hecate's got to start, I think, pulling some big weight here. I want to see him start to pop off. This is a really, really heavyweight name in the scene. Good first round for him, 4-2. Keep this up, and I think VP will be well on their way.
Fasheko finding some
wow,
damage
he really
as
is
well.
out in front, though, isn't he?
Really
17K.
It's casual 17K damage there for Fasheko, but this is where the Knights had it figured out. I mean, they had a pretty clean point capture fight at the beginning of the last round. Here comes a crossfire right into the toss.
Sheesh.
The kill does end up coming out, so Pule getting heaved right into a crossfire. You hate to see that if you're on the side of Virtus.Pro, so you're down a point tank to start things off here. Ruckus now making his way up to the top. Fasheko cleaning up Payan, so Leon is down now as well. Spite goes in onto the Ceres,
Nice
but he gets
peel.
cleaned up before he can get it off. Ricotta drops Fasheko. That's a nice trade right there. Notices his healers getting spited up, cleans it up before anything can happen, and Pittsburgh Knights find themselves up 66% with Virtus.Pro, at least physically, closer to the point at the moment.
Must be all that Kovacs, because Ricotta is looking on point right now. He's getting hard dove right now. Can Cuss bail him out of this one? The answer is no for now. 96% on the Hexafire. This Inara is way out in the open. Dosips is probably going to be looking for it, but I don't know if he loves this angle, and Inara just gives it to him. Dethroner stays in that the whole time.
Little bit zoomed in there on Hecate, leads Dethroner to walk out from behind cover. The overpower heaves Dosips off the map.
Okay,
93% for the Knights.
I didn't actually know if that was a kill or not. I didn't know if that was kill volume out there. I know the sand slows you down. Easy for Payan.
Just slowly sink into the
Yeah, Fasheko served up on a silver platter. The Knights with the 6-man in play. The objective, 99%.
Nice.
Pule is going to be here just for the overtime and not much more.
Just for the overtime, Ruckus poking out a little bit of damage as well. They've given up the point, realizing that they better try their hand at defense here, and they did a good job of it last time. They found the kills. They found the kills far enough out from their base that they were okay trading in a few. Pacheco doing his best here to toss in some damage onto the Inara, but he may end up falling instead for his troubles. Gets out of it. The Ashe support was there.
I mean, when you break it down, point tank versus point tank, aggro tank versus aggro tank, the Knights definitely have the superior front line, I guess, based on what we've seen so far. Pule, I think he needs to just go in resilience. He has been tossed around by this commander's grab long enough. It's time to put your foot down. And the fact that he has picked up Cauterize 2, he's got 500 in hand, so he could buy resilience. But if he leaves base without it, kind of tells me at this point he's not really interested at this moment in grabbing it. Maybe wanting to go all the way into Cot 3 before anything else.
Interesting itemization choices here from Virtus.Pro. Pacheco drops to Throner, and it looks like at the moment Pittsburgh Knights have the point fight figured out. But Virtus.Pro kind of understanding how the defense works, at least at the moment. Help me into the into the Dread Serpent. Goes G-Bunny, and down he goes back into his base. Virtus.Pro doing a good job of zoning out Pittsburgh Knights here with a minute left, about halfway there. They're doing a good job of keeping them pushed back. They don't want to give up even an inch on this payload. Doing the same thing that was happening back on Jag Falls. A bit of an interesting Pacheco catching Dethroner off guard there. But he's going to be able to get himself out of it back to his team.
Yeah, might be in trouble now. He's not sure which way he really wants
Never mind,
to go.
he's not.
He is going to continue to be pinched out here. Hecate getting some damage out onto G-Bunny, but Pule largely off on his own little island there. Cutie is always where he needs to be. These health bars for the Knights just will not drop.
They will not. Virtus.Pro's in the meantime will. Ricotta finds one on the back of a few other kills. Dethroner, double kill for yourself, why don't you? And he does. Virtus.Pro down, a clean 4-0 sweep here for the Knights, and take note, you got 5 ultimates up for the Knights. You got only 3 at the moment. Shaolin's ultimate soon to be up as well. 4 up essentially for Virtus.Pro, so a slight advantage on the side. The Dread Serpent not up yet. 8 seconds left though. This will be the fight that decides whether it's 3-1 or 2-2.
Oh, here we go. It's going to kick off here with a nice little Pacheco flank. Yomi strike not good to the back line. Bursted down by Payan and the boys. Hexafire's going to do what it can to shut down Dethroner, and it will. So a 1-for-1 trade. Ultimate spent on either side.
Both sides utilizing the utility that they have right now, but the backline up top, Enlightenment doesn't hit the Ruckus, hits a little bit of backline. Hecate, though, cleans up Payan. Now Tyra is the next to fall. G-Bunny cleans up Hecate, and now Doseps turns his eyes to the Khan, and the Pittsburgh Knights are pushed back. 2-2 it will be.
Let's be real. Nobody was looking at Doe that fight. He just killed everyone. Nobody put pressure on Ruckus, and he was in a largely vulnerable position, just kind of right there under the cliffside, and out of sight, out of mind for the Pittsburgh backline. They are certainly punished for that lack of respect to one of the more veteran players in the scene, and certainly on this team, dating back pretty much further than everyone in this matchup except for Cutie. Those guys go all the way back to Young Shopping Sweden there at our very, very first DreamHack Founders Tournament. And obviously plenty of history there, but Doseps a little quiet in today's set and starts to kind of come alive a bit as he works his way to the 5th position on the damage chart.
Hecate came alive a little bit more. That's something you were kind of looking for later on this set. Gets himself up there in 2nd place in the damage chart, so you look for that to continue if you're on the side of Virtus.Pro, but you got to find a way to win one of these point fights. Pittsburgh has just had it locked down. The Knights have just gotten this point fight figured out, at least initially. Get themselves up to 12%. Dread Serpent onto the back line.
Oh, 4 people.
Nearly cleaning it up. Pacheco drops one. Pacheco looking for the second, finds a spite onto the Khan, but he drops instead. Dethroner answering back onto Pacheco, but Dosef starting to clean up some kills from the end of that nice Dread Serpent. Payan's got to be careful. I'm not sure he can out-damage the Ruckus, at least right now. Virtus.Pro finds themselves a kill. There's the overpower. Dosep's in the arms of Khan. Are they able to clean him up? And they are. 84% now for Virtus.Pro. They seemingly figured out this point fight. Khan's going to try to get a touch for himself, maybe allow his team to get back into it.
Now it's time for the ultimates for Pittsburgh Knights, but they don't have much. Crossfire is down. Convergence just came up, though. Is that... I thought I heard another Dread Serpent come through, but it just couldn't have been. Commander's grab whiffs. Punish on the G-Bunny here. He's going to take a lot of damage for his troubles.
Base tanking pretty much all of the Virtus.Pro lineup right now in the backside. They're going to elect the Knights to try to just win the fight rather than get on the point. They're getting some percentage now. Virtus.Pro pushed. Doseps falling here could spell the end. Pittsburgh Knights could find themselves their 3rd point here. Payan cleaning that one up. Fasheko wrapping around the backside, trying to make himself the flank, but they're privy to it. G-Bunny knows that Fasheko's coming around the backside. In the meantime, though, the Knights have captured the point while they're dancing around the outside. The Knights have just stayed on the point and cleaned up the fight as well.
That's tough there. I think with the right knockback onto G-Bunny, he did a good job battle shouting himself in and then immediately going into shield. So a shoulder bash after the battle shout would have been the only way Puleule could have maybe made that space and snuck that point away from from the Knights. They have just been on the back foot this whole time, and that's the Knights winning that fight without really any ultimates either. That's the scary part, is VP had the ultimate advantage, they had the resources, and they still couldn't put it together.
And the Knights, I mean, Virtus.Pro had 96% or so on the point there, just a couple ticks away from really putting it through, but the Knights able to find the team fight, and they're looking for another one here. The Dread Serpent fears out the con. The damage isn't there to wrap up the kill, but it is there onto Ricotta. Fasheko as well falling. G-Bunny finds himself too. The con's starting to come alive here. You got to watch your back as the kills are going to start to come here from the Shaolin. He goes into his stance, gets killed instead. Vex drops paying for his troubles, but G-Bunny cleaning up the rest of Virtus.Pro at the moment. And the Knights have found themselves an offensive win.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the healing charts here. I feel like Cuskutty's been doing a damn good job, and he is putting Vex down by about 56,000 healing this time around. That's honestly the thing that I feel like is winning this game. This is so skirmishy, so rotation heavy, and so much healing is required. And Cuss is always there, it feels like. Convergence goes fishing, finds Dosup's Commander's Grab is there, but they don't even need it.
They don't need it, and they could be looking to end the series right here. They find 2, only 3 up and available. You got some damage dealers, a tank, and a healer. Here comes down the banner, so she's going to keep herself alive, at least for a moment. Cleans up the Tyra, but once that immunity wears out, she will be the target, but they find 2 instead. Virtus.Pro are respawning, coming out of their base, and actually winning this fight with 30 seconds left. What looked like a loss, what looked like a series loss, has now been flipped on its head. Virtus.Pro able to defend and push out the Knights.
I'm just trying to get these ultimates charged back up if I'm VP and hold this defense without spending anything else, because the Knights are in a bad spot. Every ultimate is under 50% charged right now. Cauterize 3 is online for a lot of these VP members. It took forever because they're not winning these points, but look at this, 4 Caut 3s. Cuskutty will not be able to do what he's been doing. The Knights have got to win it here, I think.
They need to win it here. They're looking for the Dread Serpent. Starts out this fight. Fasheko starts out the fight with a kill onto Ricotta. That's a big loss. That's your damage dealer right there. No more ultimates being used, at least at the moment, for Virtus.Pro. Getting tossed over the top is the Ashe, though. She'll be the target of some damage. Here comes a Hexafire as well from Dosup's. Pittsburgh Knights find a kill onto Dosup's, but the Throner, is down as well. Pan now onto Pule, and now Virtus.Pro are getting flipped. The health bars are so low, and they're going to get dropped as well. Now it's down to Fasheko. Once he's down, it's done, and it is done. The Pittsburgh Knights are going to win it.
I can't believe it. They didn't have ults. How did they do it? The Knights show so much resilient. And I mean, Fasheko, he's in the billow, and he's already throwing his mic up, but he just realized, God dang it, that's it, man.
God dang it, Bobby.
That is it, Bobby. Propane and propane accessories could not bail out Virtus.Pro. Despite the amount of ults they had, it did not matter. They didn't get much value. I can't believe it, but the Knights do it in 5.
The Knights do it in 5, winning a big one over Virtus.Pro. 4-1 is the series. Let's send it back to the desk to break it down.
Well, there were some really, really good plays coming down from both sides, but at the end of the day, only one team controlled the point and finally got their push, and that was the Knights finding themselves the full series, and it was pretty clean. A lot of murky 4-3s in the middle that could have gone either way, but I think they were the most consistent.
Yeah, they just, once they won that game on Frozen Guard, I think everything shifted. It just was that 4-point swing we talked about, and Knights got even more confident, and Virtus.Pro felt even less confident. And then it set an underlying tone of something's up, something's wrong, I want to point to blame, but is it really just that? You know, a lot of people have a hard time taking accountability for anything in life, and I think at the end of the day, the better choice, I think, to be a better team is to acknowledge who messed up. Because there were some moments where people were messing up. There were some moments where the team could have done just everything better. Yeah. And to differentiate those is going to be the key when they go back and look at tape. But at the end of the day, you know, it's your first day it's your first game.
First day.
Pittsburgh's already played. They kind of baited you out because they played really badly. Then they prepped really hard, and then you kind of thought they were bad. So there's like some mind games, like we mentioned.
Bathroom talk pays off. That's what I wrote down.
Bathroom talk pays off, dude. That's good reporting right there by Nick.
and just being able to find it, getting into that, and recognizing, again, where things are going right and wrong, right? Slash lines aren't really out of the ordinary. Their Vex may be dying more than he would like, but like everything for Virtus.Pro looked good for a vast majority of that set. The first game, I think, was a little wonky, and then Frozen Guard looked great, Jaguar Falls looked great, literally until like the last second they couldn't. This game, Knights knew what they were doing.
And you know what my favorite thing to compare this to is the Renegades Na'Vi. Like, that one game on Frozen Guard, I mean, and then Phoenix did it best. They're playing Team Deathmatch, we're playing the objective. But the way I looked at it, that was a little bit of a shot at them. My opinion is that they were great, even almost as far as skill mechanically. But decision-making and focus was way better. So that, in my opinion, was something that Na'Vi demonstrated. I think Virtus.Pro were on the skill side of things. And I also will say that there's just been a fantastic performance by G-Bunny throughout the course of the last 2 days. Really impressed with his con lately, and that's why he was smiling, baby. He got his con, and it did the work.
And there's just been so much good. And again, when you look at 4 out of 5 players here, Dethroner, Pan, Ricotta, G-Bunny, 4th and 5th place teams, they haven't had that streak of success, but all incredibly good players. And again, Cuss, whether you want to say he's the mentor, he's the tutor, he's the guy leading these guys, is he the wise sage that came in with him? It doesn't really matter. The team together has been phenomenal, and his healing numbers that entire game were phenomenal. I think they mentioned at one point, I can't remember if I think the gap was like 70,000?
Oh, man.
Where he was just ahead.
It was just some great gameplay, and I think Pittsburgh Knights have a bright future in the PPL. So do Virtus.Pro. They're so talented, and it's just a matter of decision-making, getting a little tighter. When do they, come together cohesiveness-wise? You're bringing all these different cultures. I wouldn't expect that to just mesh perfectly at the start. Going to be some work, just like with Kanga. But Pittsburgh Knights, they all come from the same ilk. They've all been in the North American scene. They all have played on similar teams with one another, 2 pairs, and then that added bonus. So I really am excited to see them continue on. And I will say, Gore, that I did get this prediction right.
You did get this prediction right. In fact, as far as I know, the only player, only caster, only person who went with the Knights on this matchup, and you were correct.
That's got to earn me like a Pittsburgh Knights shirt or sweater. Feel free to send it to the Skill Shot
If you've
offices,
got the scarves, I've heard
Knights.
a lot of stuff from the scarves. But we happen to have a couple of players from the Knights standing by after their win. I'm sure they're feeling good. I know Cuss is over there. And so let's go ahead and jump to them and see what they have to say.
Here we are with Pan and Cuss Cutie. First of all, congratulations, guys, on your first win here in the PPL.
Thank you.
And Cuss Cutie, I know that before the game you had talked about how important it was. You knew a couple of the guys from the other side. So what are some of your initial thoughts coming off a win here?
I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to join this roster. It was looking bleak for me. There was not a lot of teams that were contacting me before the season started. Just 1 or 2 others, and being able to join this group of guys, I knew that they had a lot of potential. They were just kind of stuck on rosters that they weren't happy with. Maybe there was some troubles, and in this roster, like we just meshed together so well, and it's great.
This old dog knows a few tricks. Can't give up on you just yet. Pan, you're one of the newer guys, one of the younger guys, I think, on the squad. How's it been for you to play with Cuss Cutie, a guy who's been here, we were talking about literally since DreamHack Sweden. He's been to just about every LAN we've ever thrown. Hell, even won one of them back in DreamHack Valencia. Right. So how has it been for you kind of coming up and playing with a veteran guy like Cuss?
It's been fantastic. I mean, there's so much wisdom and experience with Cuss that no matter what, we can always come to him for help. And it's also not even just Cuss, it's everybody on the team. If you can come to we're just a big group of friends. So if we ever need anything, you can just talk to anybody, and it's a really good group.
So I want to harken back to that little conversation in the bathroom where I was a fly on the wall, if you will, talking about Shattered Desert. Do you feel much better about this map? Do you feel like you got to learn a good amount about it, given your games on it yesterday?
Shattered Desert has always been a comfort map for us. The draft we had yesterday, it was the draft we wanted. However, it was not the way we wanted to play the draft.
Gotcha.
We figured that they would pick Shattered Desert thinking we were weak on it. We're not weak on it. We just played that very poorly. We had
200
very bad
IQ
rotations.
bait from yesterday.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But we love the map. We know what we want to do with it on Shattered, and we were able to get it done.
Awesome, guys. Well, congratulations on your first victory
Thank
in the PPL. We're going to get it back over to the desk and wrap up the day.
Wrap up the day, but also wrap up the week.
Not only
with the way things have been going.
Shattered the desert, but shattered your expectations. For
Yeah,
the
I mean, the Knights, and that's actually something I think is worth mentioning. A lot of these teams Renegades Knights specifically were ones that I was counting out coming into this just based on what I had known about the history, so they are doing incredible.
They are.
And then some of the teams that I expected to maybe blow other teams out of the water, like Virtus.Pro, the potential is there, right? It's kind of like you know that there's going to be a diamond, and you just have to wait to watch it kind of flourish. I guess it's more like a flower in bloom, right?
Yeah.
They've planted the seeds, you know it's going to grow into something beautiful, but you just got to wait to get there.
It's scary, but you need your guy with vision, and I think when you have that happen, you're going to be able to get through that period of it's not there yet, and I don't know if it's gonna ever get there, and then finally get there to where you're so excited about it. And Kango is another team that I thought we were expecting a little bit more from. Didn't quite get it, but they have a bright future ahead of themselves.
And that was again a matchup this morning that if you did miss it, it was maybe because you blinked, because it went by pretty quickly. Envy were in control that entire set. It was a 4-0 for the world champs, or the reigning world champs, I should say.
Defending,
being able to come through, defending as the way things go. But Kanga have a lot of, again, the essence is there. What do you see maybe changing from week 1 to week 2, other than more practice since they only got Jara in on Wednesday?
Time with each other. I think the picks were a little off. I thought they prioritized Ashe a lot. They could use an Inara more consistently, maybe try to build the Ashe around that with some of their drafts. And obviously,
don't let random noob get behind you.
Obviously, just decision-making and focus. I think that they got in their heads after the early loss, and I think this one got even more in their heads. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but they're a team that I expect a lot from in the future.
Well, with the way they've been going, again, Envy still looking like they are one of the best teams. I think technically the only team to have a 2-0 as of right now, so we'll see them later in the standings. But, of course, that was not the only matchup we had today. The team they were able to beat yesterday came back today, Na'Vi, and they ended up going up against who Kanga lost to yesterday, Renegades.
Yeah.
And, again, Renegades looked pretty impressive in terms of their mechanics, in terms of their fights. But when it came down to the objective, they were just never there.
I think, Renegades are the most important team to pay attention to right now. They have two players that, in Shadow and in Vocal, may not be playing together again. We know Loki is supposed to be here as their main starter, and Shadow was a last-minute replacement, but these last 2 days have shown me that Shadow should be in the PPL. On what team, I don't know, but he should be playing if he's playing at this level. So Renegades have a tough decision to make. Loki needs to come back, obviously. He needs to be a part of this decision. Is someone else stepping down for that? I don't know, but I think Shadow needs to stay in the loop, at least as a sub for this team.
And it's one of those things that, in my opinion, when it comes back, if Loki does come through, he's going to have probably a stellar performance, and the team's going to have a turnaround. But as it is right now, not focusing on the objective, because kind of what Phoenix had said in their post-game interview, Na'Vi feeling really, really confident. They said, I think, exactly that Renegades were playing Team Deathmatch, whereas Na'Vi was playing the objective. They were playing, as I think he said, they were playing Paladins. And as it was, Lazy, as well as Zarini, I'm going to give him credit where credit's due, looked really good.
Yeah, I mean, Zarini was a fantastic pickup for Not As Sincere to continue their ability to get a win. I think they would have felt really upset. Obviously, losing against Envy is expected, but losing against Renegades would have not been expected, and that would have really put a bit of a twist in their own season. So the fact that they were able to clean that up today and find the win, it was very successful. Oh, wow, Phoenix showing a little shade there.
I actually want to say something.
I didn't see that moment.
Even though he had the shade, obviously not only in that moment, but
at
also
the
in the interview as well.
Whoa.
What I'm going to say is that he also had something that I think most players, and especially if you're looking at VP right now, most players need, and that is that he was willing to accept. He's like, Zarini played great.
Yeah.
I was the problem. He's like, my DPS just was not as good as it needed to be to make this work and go as easily. So we did not quite see the Na'Vi. I think that Na'Vi sees in Na'Vi.
Yes.
So I think he said even on Twitter, the next week he's going to be spending locking up that DPS, making sure that he can get it on point.
Yeah.
But this was week 1 of the PPL. Yesterday we went through some fantastic days, a really interesting schedule.
Yeah.
Of course, it's going to be a good day when you have a rematch from the World Championship, from the finals even. But you saw the Knights actually lost their first set up against NIP, the only set they were able to play this week.
Yeah.
Envy takes over Na'Vi, and Renegades beat out Kanga. A lot of 4-2s. We went 18 total games yesterday. Today, a little bit shorter of a day, 4-0-4-0 for Envy Na'Vi there. But then that last set had the potential to go 7. I think, honestly, if we see a couple of those maps just shift slightly, Virtus.Pro push this pretty much the full distance.
But Pittsburgh Knights take 2 games off of NIP as well, so they're actually next to Envy, next to Na'Vi, the only other team in the league right now that have won 6 games out of their 2. It's very impressive what they put together. They are a team to be messed with here, and I mean, do not bet against them as heavily as you all did, casters, coming up in these next weeks.
That's my B.
That's your B.
I will hold that L.
man.
That's an L. I am perfectly fine.
Truly, I was rolling. I closed my eyes and said, "What? I'm just lucky. I'm enjoying."
I have never been happier to be wrong than seeing a team succeed when I think they will fail, and because of that, we can actually look at the standings and see where some of these guys ended up. Some of the ones I thought were going to be towards the top did not quite make it there. Some of the teams that I was really, really hoping would be maybe a little lower because I was looking at some of the others as being successful. Didn't quite make it. Maybe my predictions were wrong.
It's a long
Unfortunately
season,
for Kanga, they're 0-2 after week 1. But there's still a long way to go. Space Station Gaming, the only team kind of, I'm going to say perfectly in the middle, even though they're at number 6, because they haven't played.
Right. And I think the best part about it is that, NIP, we still have to see more from them. They have a good differential because they won their set. But Pittsburgh having taken an L and still being a +1, that's a solid opportunity for them to continue staying in the top. I think 4-5 is going to be what we just saw. That Renegades, Pittsburgh, VP, they're going to be in that area right now. I think Na'Vi, Envy, and NIP are a little bit of a step above the rest currently.
Well, hey, I've seen a lot of people in chat today asking about roster specifically, maybe who's playing on SSG, who's playing on some of these teams. Like, I want to follow my favorite player, I want to follow my favorite roster, I want to follow my favorite org. Either way, you can find all of that on the website. So if you just go online and look for them, you'll find them. They're going to be exactly
just
where you
online.
need them. Paladins, what is it? esports.paladins.com?
Yeah, that
like
should be it.
That should be
that should be
the
it.
website, if I remember it correctly. Otherwise, you can always go to Paladins.Pro on Twitter and make sure you follow everything there. But that's going to be it for week number 1 of the PPL. In the books, closed, done, dusted, everything that you wanted to see, hopefully coming out the way you wanted. A couple of teams surprising us, but that's all we have for this week. You can tune in Monday, Tuesday, 11 a.m. for the Console League on Monday, Minor League on Tuesday, Esports Weekly next Wednesday, and of course the PPL returning Thursday and Friday. But until we see you again, my name's been Gormizer. From everyone here at Skillshot, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Brought to you by Skillshot, Hi-Res Studios, Evil Mojo, INAP, SteelSeries, Respawn.